What is up, everybody? How is it going? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Filling in the Gaps. It's me, Flojo. We are here. We are here. What's up, everybody? Let me give a shout out to everybody in the chat. How's it going? I see Tammy's in the building. And then Rock is here. Heelwood Sounds is in the house. I see Rach. Mac Dizzleson, there you are. Long time no see. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. Hope is in the house. Who else? We got Julie. It's 4:15 a.m. Dear Lord, it's early. My Lord. Wow. Gonna play some music in the background really quick. How's it going, everybody? I feel like every day that I don't stream, it just feels like forever. So, kind of glad that we're here. What happened to the beat? No beat? All right. Turn up the mic. Is that good? Thank you, Sydney. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm trying not to yell. It's kind of late over here. How's it going, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, we're going to talk about the Nancy Guthrie case right now. So, it's been pretty crazy, right? I don't know if any of you guys are following it. There really is so much news, right? Hear what sounds? There is just so much going on. We're going to be talking about Nancy Guthrie's case, the mother of Savannah Guthrie. But let me see. Hold on. What are we doing? What are we doing? Yeah, so Nancy Guthrie, right? She was reported missing from her Tucson home on a Sunday morning after failing to show up for church. I think, she's an avid churchgoer, and I think church was supposed to start at 9 o'clock, and by 9:10, when all of her friends noticed that she wasn't there, they immediately called her family to let her know that she didn't show up for church. So they immediately threw everybody in a frenzy, and they went to her house and they noticed that she wasn't there. She was missing. And it looks like this car revving their engine out there. But it looks like there was forced entry, and it looks like a crime was committed. So we're going to talk about this. News Nation put out a video not too long ago with Brian Enton and Chris Cuomo. We'll just kind of get a little bit of an update because there's been a shocking twist to some of the stuff that went down. So let's kind of just jump right into it. We'll start with this video right here from News Nation. We got some new people in the chats. I see Mama Jax is here. Hope is here. Who else? Anna Banana is here. How's it going? And then we're going to talk about a quick update on the D4VD case. There was a Reddit post last night that went out, and we're gonna talk about it because I saw it and then I didn't see it. But we'll talk about that after this though. So let's go ahead and get started with this video from News Nation with Brian Enton. Last round in, just got the Discord post. There you go. Notifications went out. All right, y'all, here we go. Let's get started with this.
Yeah, it's been tricky, especially with these ransom notes, Chris.
Hold on. Let me make sure the volume's up because it doesn't sound like it is. Dear Lord. All right, let's see.
No, are these just buffoons sending in notes trying to get some money? We don't know. We know that that the sheriff confirms that they are investigating several ransom notes, including...
So in case you guys haven't found out, or you guys just haven't been updated with the news because everybody's talking about it, there seems to have been a ransom note that was sent to a few local news stations or media companies. And it seems like our good friends over at TMZ decided that they would be the first people to let it out publicly, right? Some of the other news stations that received the same ransom note, maybe it's not the same ransom note, but I'm assuming that it is. Yeah, the video audio is a little low, and I do apologize for that. Sticky fingers, it's actually the video quality itself. It's not the loudest, so I do apologize. I have the volume all the way up, and there's not much that I can do, so I do apologize about that. But yeah, ransom note went out to a few news stations. TMZ decided they're going to take matters into their own hands, and they're going to put it out first, right? So let's hear what Brian Enton has to say about this.
one that went to TMZ, and one that also went to a local TV affiliate here in Tucson. Something really alarming, though, Chris, and I want to show you this video. We were able to get up close to the house right near the front door, and there is blood. There is a blood trail near the front door of Nancy Guthrie's house, and you can see the blood right there, right near the front doormat. And as the camera pans up, there's something else troubling. There was a Ring camera there, and all you can see now is where the mounting was on the wall.
So there's the little mount that they have right over here where the Ring camera was at one point. They had mentioned that before police even got there, this Ring camera was taken down and removed. So I don't know if they were able to recover the camera, but whoever took it down, I think it's got to be an idiot, right? Because anybody who has a Ring camera knows that anytime the video records, it goes straight to your cloud and you can automatically see those videos on your phone. So I don't know what person did this, but I don't know. They just took the Ring camera.
The Ring camera has been pulled off. I asked the sheriff about that at the press conference today, and I asked, was it the perpetrator that you think took the Ring camera? And all he would say was, we noticed that too, and we are investigating. Something else new is Nancy had a pacemaker, and the pacemaker electronically connected to her Apple Watch, and her Apple Watch, we know, was charging in her bedroom, and the last time the pacemaker connected to the Apple Watch was around 2 a.m., so the thought is it was shortly after 2 a.m. That Nancy was abducted. And the last thing I want to show you, Chris.
And so I don't know if that really kind of helps with the timeline, because they do say that one of the daughters, I guess, took her out for dinner Saturday night, and they brought her home around I think it was between 9:30 9:45. So if the Apple Watch connected with the phone, or the Apple Watch connected with her pacemaker around 2 a.m., there's a possibility that that could have happened shortly afterwards.
We got some drone video in the area, which I think is important because people think this is like a normal neighborhood. We're actually in the foothills, very close to the mountains, and the houses are spread out here outside Tucson. Each house, I would say, sits on anywhere from an acre to 3 or 4 acres. You'll see when it gets dark out here, it's pitch black. So this isn't like a neighborhood where everybody's going to have a camera and people are going to...
Those drops of blood look substantial. Yeah, right. And we'll take a look at that, right? Because a lot of people have been tripping out and giving Brian Enton some shit, and they're a little upset because, you know, they think that he's contaminating the crime scene. But we learned that the house was released, I want to say maybe 48 hours later. So the house has been returned back to the family. So it's no longer considered a crime scene. Like, investigators have done everything that they needed to do. But I don't know. You guys think it was too soon?
See what's going on at their neighbor's house. It's much more rural than that, and everything is spread out, Chris.
Man, you're dumping all this stuff on me. I've been listening as we're going through. I got questions. Let me go in reverse order, okay? And your super sleuth producer that it's out there with you, Allison Weiner, you guys saw a rescue truck or some kind of first responder vehicle there and some kind of activity. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that was new. Right before Elizabeth's show started, suddenly this chopper showed up and was hovering right over the house. And I thought, oh, maybe they're going to make one pass. They were here for an hour, circling the house and then circling the area around the house. And then there was a search and rescue team that also showed up in a pickup.
So I think what happened too is when they called for the search and rescue team initially, they'd called it off fairly quickly because they realized that this was no longer going to be a search and rescue. And they I guess they realized that there was an abduction that took place and they needed to go a different direction. And maybe they had thought maybe it's something different, right?
Truck. Did they get some kind of tip? Were they looking for something? We don't know, but that's new. We haven't seen that happen yet.
Right. That's okay. Two, the connection from the heart device to the phone, is that about proximity?
It's about timing, because when she was taken away and the pacemaker could no longer connect to the iPhone because it does it through Bluetooth, you have to be close to it.
So it's proximity.
It showed that that when she moved away at 2 a.m., suddenly she must have been abducted after 2 a.m. That's what it shows.
Okay, the blood. So I was talking with one of our colleagues about it before and saying, it doesn't look like gushing, you know what I mean? Like this is a huge wound that's bleeding out. And obviously it's sequential, so it's moving, either into the house or out of the house, most likely out. You see there's a little bit of a spray pattern there that could indicate a pause. And you're saying that investigators have a little bit of a notion of what the blood by its pattern may suggest?
Oh, you can see there that it looks like little squirts of blood
May suggest?
with the tiny little droplets of blood. It looks like it may have been like squirting or spraying blood. Look at that.
Yeah, we don't know what the blood means. My first thought was even like you mentioned, it's not a ton of blood, almost like a nosebleed. We don't know. We know
Those drops though looked a little too small to.
like you mentioned, it's not a ton of blood, almost like a nosebleed.
But you can just tell by the tiny little drops that it had to have been something that was probably a little quick, right? Like a squirt of blood. And every time that I see blood on the ground, it just reminds me of my most traumatic experience dealing with a dialysis patient. Walked into the room and the patient had scratched their dialysis shunt, and it was like a bloody gore scene in a movie. This patient was spraying blood out of their shunt, and it just kind of like kept pulsating and pulsating. So there was just blood everywhere. There was blood on the curtains, blood on the ceiling, blood on the floor. It's so traumatic. It was, yeah, it tripped me out. I mean, obviously way more blood than this. But yeah, every time I see blood on the ground, it just reminds me of that traumatic experience that I saw walking into my patient's room.
We don't know. We know that we knew there was blood yesterday, but we didn't see the blood. Today we see the blood. We know they've tested the blood. Whether it came back to Nancy or someone else, we don't know. But it's right there. It's still right there on the front step.
And Allison and I were talking about it in terms of, is the theory that someone carried her out? That forensically they have a way of assessing something like that versus her walking out,
And that's another point of contention too, right? Because they were discussing that what is aspirated? Wait, I see. Gold Digger, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. David is guilty. I see you. Close in the house. It depends on which sense you're using aspirated, right? I mean, normally, like when we give injections, we pull back the plunger. It's called aspirate. Or if you were to like choke on your saliva, means that you can aspirate on your saliva, breathed in. Yeah, so Ronan said basically breathed in, right? But yeah, it's a point of contention if she was able to walk, right? Or if she was carried out, because from what we've learned that mentally, right? She's sharp as a tack. She's alert. She's oriented. And we do know that she does have mobility issues, and she is unable to walk, or she can only walk up to 50 yards. So that's not a lot of that's not a lot of range. That's only 150 feet, right? Without probably getting tired or without the need of a walker or wheelchair.
That is interesting. And the last part is these ransoms. Now, the fishy part is the Bitcoin, which there's a plus minus on it. Why would you ask for Bitcoin? Not traceable. Why would you do a scam, having nothing to do with Nancy's abduction?
But there was also an email that was sent, right? So they received a ransom email. So that email could be traced, right? And I really do think that TMZ really should have gone to law enforcement beforehand. Apparently, it's been mentioned that TMZ decided to go on TV first or go live and talk about it before they reported it to the sheriff's department. And I don't know if Brian Enton mentioned earlier, but he said that TMZ had tried to get a hold of the sheriff's department, but was unable to. Y'all really believe that?
Because it's untraceable. So you could get free money out of this. Is there any indication as to whether or not they think these are legit demands?
Close. She very well could have coughed it up, right?
I wanted to mention.
Yeah, she very well could have coughed it up. Many addicts pass away due to aspiration while passed out, and the respiratory system is so depressed they can't wake up when breathing in stomach acids. Yeah, absolutely. Barbara Bish, do I think that she might be on blood thinners? It really depends, right? But she does have a pacemaker, so she does have heart issues. Um, if she's unable to walk for mobility purposes, we don't know if there's any physical ailments that she has, or if it's because she's out of breath. She develops shortness of breath after 50 yards.
And the blood stops right near the door, which, like what you and Allison were talking about, does that mean that she was put into a car right there? Because the blood doesn't like continue out into the driveway from what we could tell. In terms of the ransom, this may all just be made up, Chris. I mean, these could be people just watching the news wanting to mess around. Let me see if I can get $20,000. I mean, they sent it to TMZ. And then TMZ was having a hard time getting in touch with the sheriff, apparently.
There you go. So there, Brian Edson said it right there.
Just watching the news, wanting to mess around. Let me see if I can get $20,000. I mean, they sent it to TMZ, and then TMZ was having a hard time getting in touch with the sheriff, apparently. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to buy that those are necessarily real, but the sheriff did make clear that they're really investigating them. I mean, they're not just sort of brushing them aside. They said, we are looking into both of those.
Thank you for watching.
So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts? Hold on, let me just do this really quick and I'll catch up on the chat. Let me see. Yes, TMZ effed up and made it public. So let me go ahead and pull that video really quick and I'll show you the video that I'm talking about because TMZ put this video out earlier. And so this is the video that TMZ is getting a lot of scrutiny on.
Something happened here just a few minutes ago. We received an email at TMZ from somebody purporting to basically issue a ransom demand. I'm not going to read this.
Get out of here, Rachel.
The top line to it is that they are asking for money, a lot. They are asking for it in the form of Bitcoin, and they are putting an or else on.
Hope, are you a nurse too? Can you be our resident nurse? So I can just take a back seat and just, talk about it? Where all my nurses at in the chat? Did he just say $20,000? I don't know if it was for the ransom, but TMZ does clarify that the ransom was talking about millions of dollars. So who knows at this point? None of the other local news stations reported on it, but TMZ felt the need to be the first to.
This.
Right.
Now, they also say they do two things.
You don't want that number.
Right. They say two things. They say that that there is an address, a Bitcoin address that that they could send this money to, and then they give a description of something that Savannah's mother was wearing at the time of the abduction. And a damaged item in the house.
Both things are clearly mentioned because they want to prove that they're legit. That they have information about something that happened in the house. We
don't know.
Don't know if that is accurate.
We have called the sheriff's department.
Oh my God, I have been on mute for a long time, huh? Damn, rookie mistake. Rookie mistake. Thank you guys in the chat. I love y'all. I love y'all. Damn. Okay, what was I saying? I was saying that TMZ is under scrutiny for this move, right? All right, type 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me. Y'all still okay? You guys can hear me now? Okay, cool. All right. So TMZ is under scrutiny for a few reasons, right? And one of the reasons is because they made the decision to go live and put this out there without the consideration of privacy. Now, if you guys remember all the way back in 2009, they were one of the first people to come out June 25th, 2009. They were the first people to break the death of Michael Jackson. And I think this was right before the family had even known about it, right? And if you want to go back to January 26th, 2020, they also put out a statement. It was basically the day that Kobe Bryant had gotten into his helicopter accident, right? Where 9 people died. TMZ put out the report that the helicopter crashed and that Kobe died. At the time, it was only Kobe who was reported. But the sad part about that was Vanessa Bryant hadn't even been notified. So, there's a lot of times where TMZ will put something out, although it might be verified, sometimes the family members aren't made aware until they see the article on TMZ.
We've made multiple calls, spoken with the detective unit. We have passed on this email. We don't know whether this is legit or not, but I will say this happens from time to time where a media outlet gets something like this. So just in due diligence, the
one thing we should
has to
say
be taken very, very seriously. Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the one thing we should say is that we have confirmed it. At least the Bitcoin address that they've included in this email is legit.
Right. And
Yeah, Miss Dizzle, that was really sad. It was like I think it was a Sunday when it happened. Sad day in LA, right? When Kobe died. And that was just a couple days ago. 6-year anniversary of his death.
the authorities will have to take this very seriously. This is a piece of material evidence that has been turned over. They think an abduction happened. They have found substance in the house. The detective walked back a little bit. The sheriff walked back the blood idea. They said that things have been gathered and they are testing those substances. But he did clarify that this is a very open.
Yeah, you said it, Rach, right? Somebody needs to ask Harvey if he's seen his name out there in other emails, right? I think they're talking about the EP files.
Open and active investigation, so we'll have to see what happens.
So we will let you know, but right now, again, all we're doing is we've sent this on to detectives, and we will see.
So that was TMZ's take on what happened. There hasn't been any recent updates in the past few hours, but definitely know that we're going to keep you guys updated with this. Yeah. I guess we're going to transition. There's really no easy way to kind of transition into this. I know Savannah Guthrie was supposed to do the Winter Olympics and has since then canceled all of her plans. I know she's posted something on Instagram, and the only thing that it says is please pray. So all of you guys that do pray, just keep Nancy Guthrie in your prayers and hope that she returns home safely and that they're able to catch these people who have potentially abducted her. And I hope that she's not in any harm, right? She's on medications. She requires medications. And I think they mentioned that the longest that she can go without her medications is 24 hours. And it's already been longer than that, right? So there is a need for her to have those medications. The next, I guess we're going to transition over to David, right? Because that's what some of you guys are probably here for. Sidebar put out, or Long Crime put out a video last night that I've kind of just seen little itty bits and pieces of it. And a lot of people have been telling me about some of the things that have been mentioned in this video. So I want to just kind of, we're going to react to it here. Yeah. Hold on one second. We got everything here. Let me make sure we're good.
Private investigator Steve Fisher, because he just posted online that a key piece of evidence in the David, Celeste, Rivas, Hernandez death investigation may potentially be destroyed. The Tesla, David's apparent car where Celeste's body was found. How is this possible, and what does that mean for the case? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. I gotta say something. I cover a lot of these stories every day, and they're not easy. I can sometimes feel a little burnt out. I don't know if you feel the same way, but if you're asking how do you get away from that? How do you give yourself a little extra care when you are feeling that way? Self-care really should start at home. And that is why I want to talk about our sponsor, Cozy Earth, okay? So whether it's their luxury loungewear, their towels, their bedding, all of their products are great. They add indulgent, high-quality comfort to your life, and that feels good. Their bamboo pajama set, which I have, it is made with a soft stretch knit that sleeps cool. It's still cozy for winter nights. It's amazing. Their classic cuddle blanket is like the softest I've ever owned. Maybe a good gift for Valentine's Day. It's coming up. Plus, Cozy Earth has a 10-year warranty.
What are we doing?
So their comfort is going to last.
Hold on. We're watching ads? No.
Over to of the David case and whether there's going to be an arrest and charges in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste.
Yeah, I think Ronan was telling y'all to do us a favor and hit that like button. And then I guess he wants to know what your number was. So if y'all can do him a favor and let him know.
Rivas Hernandez, whose decomposed body was found in a car allegedly registered to David Anthony Burke. While we have talked about a lot of different components in this case in the investigation, you know what we haven't addressed recently? The car itself, the Tesla that was found abandoned in the Hollywood Hills with Celeste's body inside. It was found after it was towed away to a tow yard. Now, the reason I want to focus on it right now is our friend Steve Fisher just posted a lot about this, okay? And yes, this is a very important piece of evidence in this investigation. So before I bring on Steve Fisher to talk about this, and remember, Steve is the private investigator who was hired by the owner of the property where David had reportedly been staying, which was apparently near where that Tesla was found. Let me read you what Steve recently posted on X, okay? David's Tesla, the vehicle in which Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found, was held by LAPD for only 48 hours to process evidence. After that, it was returned to the impound lot for David to retrieve, which he had not done until today. The Tesla was scheduled to go to auction tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., and I had planned to attend and inspect it. However, in the final hours before auction, David, or someone with power of attorney acting on his behalf, picked it up. When I checked last week, the storage fees were approximately $10,500 as the vehicle had been released and available for pickup since September 10th, before Celeste had been identified. I hope just the thought of that vehicle haunts David and anyone else that knew Celeste was in the trunk for the rest of their lives. Hashtag David, hashtag Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Then in another post, it's the same here except if the value is over $4,000, then they have to hold.
That's a great question, right? Who in the world would want to buy that car? And I'm very curious who it was that actually came to pick it up for him, right? Because they did say that they received a notarized document, which David had to have signed in order to authorize the transfer of ownership, and then the bill of sales, right?
Hold it for longer, and there was a longer process because it had Texas plates. There's another post. The vehicle was held by LAPD from September 8th to the 10th under a 22655.5 evidence hold.
And that's a great point, Whitney, right? I have a feeling that you are 100% correct, right? Whitney said, you know, David has a team of people that are going over that car with a fine-tooth comb and are going to use whatever they find in his defense and then scrub it clean. Maybe even get rid of it and crush it, right?
Then transferred to a downtown LA impound on September 10th. That's why it now shows false for on hold. I attached the auction listing, which appeared several weeks ago. When Steve was asked if it was taken by LAPD prior to the auction, Steve responded no. And in another post, Steve said, David's Tesla, which held the remains of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, was released to an individual who presented notarized paperwork authorizing the vehicle's transfer. I verified this. That person then transferred ownership into their own name. I can't disclose the new owner's identity without violating the rules of my DMV access as an investigator. This is also why I always redact license plate numbers, even when they're publicly known. As a licensed investigator with direct DMV access, if I have run that plate number, I have to redact.
Wait, Close said that if it was someone on his legal team, they would be losing their license. Can you enlighten us and explain to us why in the chat? I'm curious. I had no idea about that. So that's a really good insight, right? Yeah. I'm curious to know who it was.
It, even if it's public knowledge, since there is a group that thinks I'm trying to hide the plate number, even though they know it. It's clear this was a calculated move to get the car out of public view and out of David's name. I wouldn't be surprised if it's about to be crushed. Hashtag David, hashtag Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And then also Steve wrote, once it's released by LAPD, it's no longer evidence. They have documented everything, taken prints, DNA, photographs, etc. Once they release it, the chain of custody is broken. They can't hold it forever. This is actually
It's a good question, Whitney. I don't know.
Now, again, the reason this all matters is no one has been arrested, no one has been charged in connection with Celeste's death, with the concealment of her body in any way. David, by the way, has not officially been named a suspect, and he too has not been charged or officially implicated, even though.
So what we do know about the car that was, once it was picked up and brought into evidence by law enforcement, we do know that the car stayed in their custody for 48 hours, and only 48 hours. After that, they released the car back to the impound lot, and then from there, David never saw that car again. That car stayed in the impound lot to raise, I think it was $10,500 worth of storage fees. So when that car was transferred, before it could be transferred, that amount had to be paid. And then I'm sure that there was a bill of sales that had to take place too. So yeah, only 48 hours.
There are reports right now that grand jury is hearing evidence. So let's talk about this. All right, so now let me bring on Steve Fisher back in the show. Steve, good to see you. Thanks, as always, for taking the time. I know you're very busy. How did you find this out about the Tesla, just to put a little bit of clarity on this?
Yeah, so I've been tracking it pretty much since day one, since they picked it up at the impound yard, just to see, because that was the kind of a nexus of our, investigation. It was the house and the car. You can track that through the system, and they kept it for 2 days, which I know a lot of people are making a big deal out of that, thinking it should have been kept. But that's pretty typical because it's not an instrument. It's crime scene location is what it is. So it wasn't really evidence as far as nobody thought that the car killed her. So they processed it, and I just kind of watched it and, ended up back in the impound yard and curious to see what their move would be, whether to pick it up, when to pick it up, what to do with it at that point, because it's a kind of a tricky situation.
Just to put a point on that, I mean, it is the scene of where her body was found.
Hey,
And,
Darcy,
processing it
welcome.
for 2 days. In your experience, is that?
How's it going? Who else? Anybody new in the chat? I see Darcy just got in the house. What's up, Darcy? Peekaboo, I see you. Tattoo artist. What's up, Rach? Hope. Who else is here? David is guilty. Nobody thought the car killed her. There goes the drink and drive theory. I know, right? And we can't forget that they are investigating this as a murder, right? This is a homicide. So I don't know if they still believe that this is an accident or a potential OD theory, right?
A thorough amount of time to actually process it for what? For DNA, for fingerprints, for any kind of evidence that's left behind, to give any indication about when she was put in the car, who might have been in that car. Because again, people who don't know, they said 48 hours and then you release it. That doesn't seem right. I mean, couldn't they have held on to it for longer? And was there not even a possibility to hold on to it and, until there's actual charges?
So Close said that my comment was referring to if someone on his legal team moved the Tesla during the last move before the body was discovered. No obligation to disclose if client committed a crime, but can't assist. Good point.
Well, if they thought that the Lexus actually was, or I'm sorry, the Tesla was.
What did he say?
Well, if they thought that the Lexus actually was, or I'm sorry, the Tesla.
Lexus? Did Steve Fisher just say Lexus? You've been talking about a Tesla for a whole 5 months, and you drop a Lexus? Is there something that we don't know? A Freudian slip? What was that?
It was actually used in the crime to actually kill her. Then they could hold it through trial. But this is more of a location, where she ended up. So what they do is they'll take it, and then they're allowed to hold it as long as it takes to do the forensic evidence of it. And listen, LAPD is a huge agency, and they do have a whole center, forensic center. And if you think about it, it's in the scope of things, of crime scenes, it's not the biggest location in the world. So I think their techs do have the ability to go in and do the DNA, all the fingerprinting, 3D imaging of the entire space of the vehicle, and it didn't shock me. And those units, operate 24 hours. So I think if it goes to trial, we'll see that they did a very thorough examination of the vehicle. I think.
I read your posts, and I know you can't reveal the identity.
So hold on, where's that comment? Where did that comment go? Who asked that question? Somebody asked about, do we know what kind of rugs he used to do? Where's that comment at? I thought I saw it. Dang, I don't know who said it. But anyways, they were asking, do we know what kind of rugs David used to do? We don't know if there's any kind of rugs that he used to do, but we do know, and is confirmed as reported by SF Investigates, he did mention that they did find Lortabs and hydrocodone in his house or at the mansion. And he had mentioned that they found 3 bottles of Lortab hydrocodone medication. So that is also an opioid medication. It's what we used to call Vicodin back then, right? They no longer produce Vicodin, and hospitals have replaced Vicodin with Norco or hydrocodone tablets, which is crazy, right? Because anybody who takes that medication is also taking like a high amounts of Tylenol. That's insane.
Of the person who ended up picking up this car. But let me just ask you this. Were you surprised by who it was?
Oh, there you go. Here's the comment.
Not necessarily. I mean, we figured, I figured it would be somebody that is known to him, and there was a group of 5, 6, 7 people that were around a lot. And I think just because of the length of time that we knew she was in there from the beginning, at the beginning we knew it had to be at least a month or so because of the tow reports. So you just figure somebody else had to know what was going on. And then also just even not stopping the tour or having a statement, it was all very curious. So I don't think that one person would have the ability not only to do that, but also just to not say anything to somebody else. I feel like other people won't.
Who said that? David is guilty said, this is not verified, but there is a Reddit post about Neo possibly buying stuff from a dealer. That is correct. And if you go follow if you're on Reddit and you follow the Celeste Rivas Hernandez Reddit thread, if you look closely, one of the mods was able to actually pull up the old archived article. And so the one that was actually posted on Reddit, it's kind of screenshotted and it's cropped out, so you can't really see the entire post. But if you scroll through the comments, you can see that the mod actually archived the older post, and they put everything there, including some of the comments that actually made it. So we can talk about it.
Had knowledge of at least she was in that car.
And just to be clear, at this point, if you're saying the car was processed and then it was picked up, what do you believe is happening right now with that car? Do you think the idea of whoever picked that car up, wherever that car is right now, do you think it's because, hey, it's a great car, we wanted to be able to use it again?
Oh yeah,
or do you believe that
it's a great car, you guys? He bought it for $108,000 and it depreciated to $54,000, right? What a great car! So that just goes to tell you, if you're ever looking to buy a Tesla, just buy one that's 3 years old and you can get it for 50% off.
Actually being destroyed at this point, and if so, for what purpose?
Yeah, so my personal opinion, and it's just my personal opinion, is that they're probably going to destroy that car. So what happened was it was, went through the process of where it crossed the 90 days or whatever it was before the vehicle, because at a value over $4,000
that way back
to go to
machine,
auction.
right?
They went through the whole process of transferring the ownership, and then the last.
Look at this car, though. If you take a look at this Tesla, you can see how caked up it is with dirt. I don't know, probably pollen from the flowers in the Hollywood Hills. This spoiler is taped up because the Tesla quality I've heard is pretty horrible, and that spoiler kind of splits. So a lot of and it's really expensive to replace for some reason. So just make sure that you don't get a Model X, right? Because the Model Ys don't have this little spoiler thing here. And then you can tell that they have the little Falcon windows because it kind of splits right over here. Then there's that huge ass dent that they have right here on the back of the truck. And none of us know exactly where that dent came from. Tara said, I would never buy a Tesla anyways. I don't know. I would. They got that full self-driving, I'm sure that means that I could wake up and go to work and just take a nap or watch somebody's live on YouTube on my way to work. I might just get a Tesla. Don't kill me for that.
In the afternoon, right before it was going to auction the next morning, and I talked to the impound yard. Somebody came in with notarized power of attorney signed by David, because he was the only registered owner of the vehicle, to release that vehicle to this person, and they paid the impound.
Peekaboo said pills to sleep, pills to wake up, and pills to stay up, right? Oh man, Yeah, those pills are never fun, right? What's that sleeping pill? Which one is it? The one that makes you hallucinate. It's at the Zolpidem. Zolpidem. What's the trade name? All my nurses in the chat. What's the trade name for Zolpidem? Zolpidem tartrate. I don't know why I can't think of it right now. But yeah, that's one that'll help you put you down real quick. I don't know. Who knows if they were taking uppers? They probably could have been taking some Adderalls. Who knows? Mixing it with a few Norcos, right?
Fees, which were around 10 grand at that time, and released the vehicle. And then just hours
Ambien,
later,
there you go. Last Ronan said it. The Ambien, boy, that is not a medication. I've taken it before, right? I used to take some medications that used to just keep me up. But yeah, I was taking Ambien to help me sleep at night. And I just remember that medication, I would hallucinate and I would see things that really weren't there. And the crazy part is I'm very well aware of it. But the fact is my mind is just kind of like fighting the sleep. And so I guess it would just make you hallucinate. Right after that, I told my doctor, I can't take this stuff. I'm starting to hallucinate. I'm done with this shit. So doctor made some changes to the medication regimen, and Tia Tempo said, Ambien didn't do anything for me. Damn, girl, what kind of tolerance do you have, Tempo? No, Ambien messed me up. Nope.
That person obviously had bill of sale on the car too, because they went to DMV and they transferred it. And it now actually has, I know who the new owner is, but which I can't disclose because DMV laws. But
yeah, Hope, where were you when I needed you, Hope?
It now has California plates, but I think that's just a technicality to get it to where that person can dispose of the vehicle, probably. Just my guess. I don't see why they'd want it.
And just to be clear, if I wasn't clear before, that the person who purchased it, right, that bill of sale, DMV, this is somebody I know you can't identify.
So we got a few folks in the chat that do also share the same experience with Ambien. Somebody said that Ambien didn't work for them. And I see a few people in the chat say Ambien is dangerous. Ambien messed me up. Ambien was my first drug of choice. So yeah, Ambien is no joke. And it comes in such a small dose too.
But this is somebody you weren't surprised by who purchased it. And I'm apologies for putting words in your mouth.
I didn't know that this person, I didn't know that name was not familiar to me before.
I think so as well.
And I'll say it's not somebody they can tie right into David, but they obviously know somebody, either David or his legal team, or they know somebody because they had to get David's notarized signature, giving this person power of attorney to get the vehicle out of impound. The title transfer, the ownership transfer did not happen at the impound yard. They just had to get it out first and pay those impound fees. But they had notarized paperwork from Dave, signed by David himself, saying this person was acting as his agent to do that. So there's some relationship somewhere. I know who they are, but I don't know what their role in their, David's world is.
I'm going to ask you a very specific question. A lot of people wondering, nobody.
I'm looking for that one post that David is Guilty was talking about regarding the post about Neo. Where is it? Let me see. Here, I found it right over here. Let me share it with you guys first, and then we'll get your guys' thoughts on it. So it says here, right? This was posted, originally it was posted to Reddit, I want to say in early October. The post reads, I don't know if I should even post this, but it's been bothering me. Not going to say names or anything like that, but I feel like I got to get this off my chest. It's not really an admission or anything like that, just something that's been eating at me since I saw the new stuff come out about this case. I'm a DJ. I work mostly at clubs, travel around when gigs line up. Around December 2024, I had a few shows in downtown LA for the holidays and ended up staying there for a couple of months. One of the clubs I worked at is kind of hidden, speakeasy, mostly Asian crowd on certain nights. That's where another DJ I know introduced me to this Asian guy. I'll just call him N. N wasn't a DJ, just someone who seemed to know a lot of people. The first time I met him, he was solo, chill, kind of quiet. Second time he came through with a few people, small group, maybe about 3 or 4 total. One of them stood out, this flamboyant dude with painted nails, a scully and fur slides. I remember that he had an actual lock chain around his neck, which was kind of wild, nothing super noteworthy other than his fashion choices. There were 2 females with them. We crossed paths a few more times, just club stuff. The last time I saw N, he asked me if I knew where to get some X and some perks. So that's ecstasy and some Percocets, right? I gave him the number for a plug. I usually hit up when I'm in town. I never had issues with him before, so I don't think twice. Let me get rid of this comment real quick. A few months later, around May 2025, I started hearing that the same plug's name came up in a connection. Where's it at? A few months later, around May 2025, started hearing that the same plug's name come up in connection with some fake pill situation. One person survived an OD, another didn't. Turns out it was fentanyl-laced stuff. At the time, I reached out to N, but no answer. But I seen him post to his Snapchat. Let me see. I gotta move screens. I seen him post to his Snapchat a day or so later, so I brushed it off and I didn't think about it again since he was the only one I had referred. But after seeing the new updates, then that's where it cuts off. What do you guys think? You guys think that was him? Let me read some of the comments. Benadryl is the hard stuff. Yuck. The liftings, yes, they definitely do not leave your bed. Got the Klonopins. Ooh, those are some pretty strong stuff too. Those benzos. The Mythbusters Pig Car episode is season 1, episode 10, titled Stinky Car. Originally aired in 2003 for anyone interested in the smell. If the smell goes away. That's interesting. Boom. Goldig said, Whitney, boom. Just like he's been obviously following the car impound situation, he already knew it was released 48 hours later, and I was sitting in police impound, right? None of this makes sense at all. Why the car was parked so close to the house if you cared to just get it back from the cops right away to find everything? Maybe. Where'd it go? Where'd this post go? David is guilty said an Asian who starts with an N, with 2 girls and a weirdo who has painted nails, a scully with fur slides, and a chain. And it's crazy, right? Because I think, let me turn this down real quick. Think if we scroll down just a little bit more, we might get to see those first slides. There were a ton of comments on this. So here's the original post. This is what the mods put up. After seeing the new updates about this case and the timing of all of it, it's been messing with my head. I'm not saying I know anything for sure or that it's connected, but if it is, that is effing insane. I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm just overthinking. Just had to say it somewhere. So, I don't know. You guys think there's any merit to this post? I'm blown away after Googling that they held Casey Anthony's car for the duration of her trial and they released his in 48 hours. Yeah, you know, LAPD, I guess they know what they're doing, right? I need a better strain. This one it has, oh, Kalohi talking about that good. Okay. I'm still blown away by the whole Casey Anthony thing. Always, yep. Let me see. They're supposed to hold evidence the entire time until the trial is over once there is a trial. So you think they're trying to hint to us that there isn't going to be a trial? I'm curious. Hope said, I think in LA they probably don't have as much room to hold evidence since they have so many cases. I thought I read something about them being able to hold it for only 48 hours. And if there are additional circumstances where they need to hold it, then they have to like file for it. And I guess the law enforcement didn't deem it was necessary to hold it for longer. I'm not sure. Maybe our legals in the chat can help us out. Where's my legal correspondent? Is my legal correspondent still in the chat? Where you at, Chloe? I'm curious. Chloe will help us out if she's still here. 48 hours is not very long. It really isn't, right? All right, let's get back into it.
He knows where David is since he was left the torque. There is a question about what David knows at this point, how much he's involved in whatever's going on. Is this notarized paperwork something that he would have had to sign after the car was found, after Celeste's body was found, or is this a piece of paperwork that he gave a lawyer or a manager years ago and said, whatever decisions you need to make, keep me out of it, you just do something on my behalf? I know that's a really tricky, specific question, but I think it does become important in terms of what his knowledge is, in terms of what's going on right now.
No, these impound yards, they have paperwork that if the registered owner is not going to be able to do it, it's specific to that transaction. So this was not a broad power of attorney that was signed a long time ago. This was something that was specific to releasing that vehicle that day to that person who was acting as an agent for David, signed by David.
And in terms of the importance of this car, we've talked before about how it's being reported. There's a grand jury that's been impaneled to hear evidence in connection with Celeste's death. It hasn't been obviously confirmed by authorities.
Alien baby, yeah, you know what? Can't they just question David anything, right? Or is no one going to talk to him? Or has no one talked to him yet? I don't know if anybody, no, nobody has talked to him. Nobody has talked to him yet. So I don't know. Maybe they don't have enough to bring him in.
But assuming that's happening, how big a role do you think that Tesla plays in terms of it's not just, you know, we cover cases?
Hope, I used to be a director of nursing for a nursing program out here in Los Angeles. So I used to do some, you know, some directing.
Just before, where there's a dead body that's found in the woods, and sure, the woods become important, but how much do you think that this Tesla will be a key piece of the evidence, a key piece of the puzzle as to who was involved in what capacity?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a super important piece of evidence, because they're going to say, you know, she was in this vehicle for an extended period of time. You know, that can be proven, you know. I mean, we already know that from the medical examiner statements that it appeared she was in that vehicle for an extended period of time. LAPD has said that. So the fact that he never filed a report that the car was stolen, and when they can backdate this to figure out approximately when she was put in there, they're going to know what the base.
Yeah, Hope, I'm currently a nurse now. I do work in nursing. That's my full-time job. That's my regular 9 to 5. But I'm no longer bedside. I am currently, I don't know if you guys have heard me talk, especially at the end of my last live, I was talking about a curriculum launch. I've currently helped a home health agency write an educational program for nursing. And so we just launched our program on yesterday.
The chain of custody was on that vehicle, and who had access to it, who was moving it around. You know, that's going to narrow down, you know, the people that probably knew, at least that, even if they didn't know what happened, at least that she was likely in that vehicle. So I think it's important in that way, but it's not something that jurors, I think, have to physically see to get a sense of. I think that when they process it, they'll have that what they need.
Steve, we always wait patiently for your next post on social media to see what piece of the investigation you can share. Why did you want to share this information about the Tesla with the public? Are you hoping that somebody might have more?
Because breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs. That's all I can say. Breadcrumbs. I think the only thing that we really want to know at this point is who drove the damn Tesla. And I know in my last live, we kind of alluded that it could potentially be Neo. But after that video, I went back and I looked at a few things, and I do not think it was Neo. I'll tell you who it was afterwards.
Information.
Or who I believe it is. Because I don't know who it is. But I have a feeling, you know, the person's right under our nose.
Can come forward. Why do you think it was important to share this publicly?
Listen, it's a good question. And as a private investigator, there's tools that I don't have available to me, like prosecutors or law enforcement have. So sometimes I'm dog whistling.
And you're right? So Tara said, I don't even think that he's in any facility. I think David is out and about, and there's a potential that he might be here in Los Angeles or West Hollywood. So who knows? We, the people on YouTube, the content creators, always talk about this 804 location, and Steve Fisher, TMZ, none of the mainstream media outlets have ever addressed the second address. It's only content creators who know about it, right? There was 1.2 that SF Investigates referred to that place as the 408 property. Not sure why, but that place just doesn't get talked about much. And I was wondering, is it possible that he might even be staying at that place?
Certain people when I make these posts, right? To see reactions and whatnot, and to have people contact me. I'll tell you, every time I appear on shows or come out with some posts, I do get contacted by people that are important, right? Last week during the last 2 weeks, I was contacted by somebody very important to the case that finally was like, listen, I got some things I want to tell you. And so I do learn a little bit more. And, it's not putting these out there for the sake of putting it out there or appearing for the sake of just, making an appearance. It's telling some people like, listen, I know this part, and do you want to come tell me the rest, or do you want me to keep fishing around? And some people like listen, have this information, and also some people are just scared to talk to law enforcement. They really are, and they finally come forward and say, listen, I don't really want to get caught up in this, but I think this is important to know, and that's helping us put these pieces together. But I will say we're at a point where 5 months, we're coming up on 5 months in a few days, and I don't know. It scares me that the case can't be made by now. That charges haven't dropped.
I want to ask you about that, what's going on with the grand jury in a second. No, and I hear you that people are contacting you. Maybe they're nervous, but also want to provide information because a lot of people are invested in this case. They want justice.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put it past his attorney, right? Because his attorney is well known for putting her clients in therapy, right, or in rehab before anything goes to trial. This is really just to help keep them out of, the public eye. But who knows if it's true that he's out in LA, he's out there somewhere, right? He's got to be out there somewhere.
In some capacity for what happened to Celeste, and we still don't even know exactly what happened. As we've mentioned so many times on the program before, the medical examiner's records have been sealed, so we don't even know the cause and manner of death. One thing you mentioned last week was regarding this person, Asia, who is, I believe, a streamer of...
And this is the first time that any of these channels have actually mentioned Asia, right? This is the first time that she's been on Law and Crime or ever been mentioned by these bigger channels. We've been talking about her since day one, but this is the first time that they've brought her up. And I'm very curious why now they're starting to introduce Asia into this. You guys think that she's cooperating?
Some kind. And as we talk about the Tesla, we talk about the movements of the Tesla, who picked the car up.
SF looks like his eyes are about to roll back in exhaustion. Yeah, and I bet you he's super tired, right? I even saw him on Law and Crime earlier today regarding the Nancy Guthrie case. He was on an interview for that. So
where it was placed.
This guy is
just
nonstop.
To be clear, who is Asia and what do you believe her role is?
Padboat, I received it. Thank you so much. I don't know if you got my response, but I did see your message on Instagram.
With respect to the car and the investigation.
Asia is a model, a streamer. I think she does some styling too. And I think that she's done some styling work for David. She was out on tour with him. She was around a lot.
Who said that? Was that Miss Dizzle said, you notice that Asia looks different after Celeste was found and she's trying to look like a good girl and less like a baddie? Like this? She looks like this?
She was definitely one of the people in his orbit. She was around quite a bit. I know there's a lot of speculation about relationships and stuff, and I don't have 100% clarity on that aspect of it. I just know that she was there a lot. And if anybody is going to have answers as to how David reacted when the news broke, hey, there was a body found in your Tesla when you were out on tour, she was there. I mean, I think those...
And there were talks about a video going around that shows David with a note. He was handed a note. Maybe possibly before the end of his very first show. Not entirely sure. And I don't know if he was actually handed a note or not. But they did mention that there's a video going around of him being handed a note. And I don't know if he's reading it or reading it out to the crowd. You guys seen it?
It would be interesting conversations to learn about, just to see what reactions like, or what conversations were like, or did people already know, and this was bound to happen. I just feel that there's no way that there's not multiple people that.
Hope says, I would think that she'd cooperate after they arrested Neo. Well, I think that, the day that she started reposting on social media, she may have probably testified. But it is crazy though, right? We don't know. We only know of 2 people potentially testifying, and that's Rob Morganroth, who's the day-to-day manager, and maybe Neo, right? And then if you guys remember one of the last lives we did, there's a potential that Neo's mom stated that he's been cooperating with the DA, right? I do find it funny that she did leave that comment under one of my videos, but it also really made me think, right? Neo's mom is a very intelligent, very educated woman. I don't think that she would have gone onto a small YouTube channel, looked through the comments, and made a statement about his innocence if there really wasn't any truth to it, right? You guys can debate that in the comments or in the chat, but I highly doubt that a mother with her level of intelligence and education would go into a small channel, into the comments, and post what she did if there wasn't a little inkling of truth. I don't know. What do you guys think about it?
Knew at least that she was in that trunk. And I'll tell you what's going to be very important is the Discord server that David had, because there was a lot of chatter in that from the time it came out that there was a body found in the Tesla.
And Sydney Shea said, send Flojo some coffee money and some hot chocolate for Jad. You guys don't have to, but if you guys do want to consider supporting the channel, we do have super chats and super stickers. And shout out to Tammy for her $4.99 super sticker. Thank you so much. But yeah, we do have a few ways that you can support the channel. We do have a buy me a coffee link, and mods, if you can put that in the chat. We do have a Venmo. We do have a Cash App if you guys ever want to support. I never ever really want to ask you guys to support the channel, but if you do like the content, you guys do enjoy it, you want us to keep going, right? There are ways that you can help support. So shout out to Tammy in the chat again for your $4.99 super sticker. All right, back to the video.
Registered to David to the time that Celeste was identified, which was 8 or 9 days later, something like that. The time in between that, there was a lot of talk about, there was a lot of people that knew that was going to be Celeste.
And look, it's interesting from a legal point of view. Whatever, if there was a hearsay issue in terms of, well, what did he say when it was?
Shout out to Miss Dizzle for becoming a member of the inner circle, y'all. I keep pressing the wrong button. I keep wanting to do this one, right? But I keep pressing this one. All right, y'all. Back to the video.
Was there was more free reign to describe how a witness reacted to that information, and whether or not he was surprised, and whether or not he was shocked.
Ms. Dizzle, you've been a member though, haven't you? You probably just renewed your membership, and I do appreciate you. Thank you so much for, if you are renewing your membership, thank you for renewing your membership and remaining a member of the inner circle. I appreciate you. Thank you.
And things like that. This goes to a bigger issue that you mentioned last week. We talked about it a lot on Sidebar. We didn't have a chance to talk with you about it here on Sidebar. You did talk to me about it on my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, last week, but you were quite vocal on X. I think I said you were vocal on Instagram before. No, but you're vocal on X about the arrest of Neil Langston. So this is David's purported friend, this streamer who was picked up in Montana last week at his mom's house, apparently on a failure to appear as a witness warrant out in L.A. He has already been reportedly brought back there. This has led to the belief that he may be testifying in front of a grand jury out in L.A., right? Reportedly has been hearing evidence for quite some time. And this is what you said in part. The arrest of Neil Langston for failure to appear to give testimony testimony, which are the exact words used by the sheriff's department when speaking with me, concerns me to a certain extent, assuming this arrest is related to the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. Targets are not typically called to testify in a case. At the state level, target letters are not always required, but issuing a subpoena to a target without providing notice is extremely risky. The defense attorney would likely argue that any testimony was coerced. Had Neo received a target letter, he almost certainly would have retained counsel and invoked his Fifth Amendment rights. That makes me think that he is viewed as a witness rather than someone currently at risk of being charged. Did one person act alone in concealing Celeste's body? If this was a homicide, did a single individual act alone without a conspirator? I find that unlikely. This leads me to believe that Neo may represent a last-ditch effort by prosecutors, a Hail Mary of sorts, because they do not yet have what they need to fully make the case. They may be attempting to pressure him into cooperating, potentially by offering immunity. Is Neo the last hope? So Steve, just to break that down for a second, I hear exactly what you're saying. In other words, there's a possibility here that Neo may be involved in what happened to Celeste, and bringing him in strictly as a witness as opposed to somebody that the grand jury can issue an indictment against. I could hear your concern. Something I mentioned on my show, and I'll mention with you again, is there is always the possibility that, assuming for a moment that Neo and David are connected to this, he could be testifying against David, he could be testifying against David and another individual or another individual. There could be people, Neo might just have knowledge of something, right, and not actually be a part of whatever happened to Celeste, right? That's still a possibility.
And so here, we'll just kind of take a step back and go back to a few days ago when we here at Filling in the Gaps right here on FloJo TV received a comment. Let me go and find something else first, though. I don't know if I have it. Darn. I can't find it. Anyways, we received the comment under one of our videos that said Neo did not hide out with his mom. He lives with his mom. He was never served. He never drove the Tesla. He is not in a plea deal. He has nothing to hide. He was cooperating with the DA already, and the arrest is completely bogus. Nancy is Melinda ducketing him. And it's crazy because when in the last live, when I played this video with Nancy Grace and the whole Melinda Duckett, somebody in my comments was like, I can't believe you put up this video about Nancy Grace. I am going to unsubscribe and not like the video. And I was like, look, if you're upset about this video that I put up about Nancy Grace, this whole entire live that I just did went over your head, because it wasn't supposed to clown Nancy Grace, but it was to show some context as to what this comment right here is talking about, right? But it is weird that there's a potential that this could have been Neo's mom. After a little bit of research, I think it was confirmed that it was her mom. The handle that it came from, the profile that it came from, was recently, I think it was literally changed during my last live. As we went on live, the comment was removed. The profile had changed their handle, and it went through a completely different name. David is guilty. It was my fault for calling her Nancy Grouch. I think, honestly, David, that was the comment that got me in trouble with whoever it was that was watching. But I don't care, you guys. This is an opinion channel. We're going to voice our opinions here. And I actually like Nancy Grace, believe it or not. You know, some of the people in the chat don't like her. Nancy makes me crack up. We even got an emoji for her, right? But yeah, look, if you're mad because I put Nancy Grace in a video regarding a lawsuit that she went through because apparently her comments drove Melinda Duckett to commit suicide shortly after the show was aired, whatever, be mad. Don't care. Back to the video. So what do you guys think? Let's take a poll. All right, I want to know what your answer is. in the poll down below. Tesla, right? Do me a favor, you guys. Drop a Nancy Grace emoji in the chat for our haters. Tesla. Let me see what some of you guys put. Okay, we got 15 votes so far, 16. Okay, a quarter of you guys believe that it wasn't. Well, I can sit here and tell you that I can confirm that it was hers because it does match a post from the Facebook. I didn't go check, but it was, some people looked for me and they confirmed that the same post was posted on her Facebook at the same time. So, I don't know. All right, let's go finish this and then we'll talk about the last story that I have regarding potential secret lover.
Absolutely, it is. But there is more. I think I'm looking at this whole situation a little bit broader than just the homicide. I understand the homicide is what we're looking for, but Celeste was trafficked. And listen, there's messages back and forth. They knew her age, and so it's not just that. Listen, there's sex crimes against this girl, and there's certain people that knew what was going on. There's certain people that gave rides to her back and forth. Even to Lake Elsinore, and so it's not just the homicide for me. I just think that this is one of these things where we got to start standing up for these young girls that are just taken advantage of by these predators. And I hope it's not a situation where it's like, we can't make the homicide, we just can't get there with it and let it go, because there is other crimes, whether it's concealment of the body, whether it's anybody that helped in facilitating her to stay with David. And so it's not just the homicide, it's just everything that happened to Celeste. It's the whole breakdown of,
Hey, do me a favor, you guys. Hit that like button for me one time. We got almost 100 people in here, and we got half the likes. I know y'all can do better. That means half of y'all that are lurking out there are just lurking and not hitting the like button. So do me a favor, hit that like button. It's free. All it does is help push this video out into the algorithm. It's your content creator's favorite word, the algorithm. And we need your help, because only you can help. There's nothing that I can do to push it out into the algorithm. It's all because of you guys, right? You guys can make this happen. So I appreciate anybody who did like this video. And then afterwards, if you guys feel like you guys want to come back, you guys can hype it. I don't know how videos get hyped, but apparently my videos can get hyped now. So if y'all want, y'all can hype the video afterwards. Back to the video.
Have you learned anything more about Neo since the last time we spoke?
I haven't.
Current state or what's going on with him?
I love this emoji.
I honestly don't know. I don't know if I was just an assumption. I assumed that if it was to bring him in front of the grand jury, I imagine that probably happened quick. But then with the $60,000 bond.
This photo right here, I don't know. This video right here for me was one of the photos that was very telling, that kind of swayed my opinion as to who may have possibly driven the Tesla. See, it looks like y'all love that emoji too in the chat. Look at y'all showing love with that emoji. Justice for Celeste, y'all. Let's keep those emojis rolling.
I mean, that could have been released by now. We don't know. I have checked, and there's no charges in the system. And I think he would have had to, been charged by now. But it's weird that there's a bond up. So I don't know what the bond exactly is for, unless they pushed his appearance up. It's all super confusing the way it's going on. And part of that's because, obviously, if it is grand jury and it's happening kind of in the darkness, and we're not privy to it. But there's nothing in the public system as far as charges go. So
if you're right, and this is a last-ditch effort to, get somebody on the hook for homicide here, and you put aside the charges, like you said, with respect to concealment of the body or whether there are sex crimes involved. Why would the prosecution's
Barbara
case
Bish, you hype, but you don't know how?
Why would it be arguably so weak? How is that possible? It feels like there would be a lot of evidence. I mean, you know this case better than anybody about the Tesla, the surveillance footage, witness statements. You tell me, how would it be possible that the prosecution's case for some of the highest charges could potentially be that weak?
I honestly, that's what keeps me up at night. I don't know, because these are not master criminals. You know, they left a girl in a Tesla in the neighborhood and went on tour, and she was in that car for a very long time. I just don't know how, especially in the neighborhood that they were living in a vehicle that's covered in cameras.
David is guilty, right? You said that if David is actually the driver, then there is a possibility that Neo and Asia could be innocent. Not saying that that's true. And you know what? That has been the question that has been bothering me since I received that comment on that video. The mom really went out of her way to defend her son, and it would be a very stupid mistake to go out there and blatantly say that if there's no merit to it, right? That just kind of tells me that you really don't know what's going on with your son. Could it be possible that Neo lied to his mom about it, and that's why maybe the mom thinks that? Could be, but I don't think so. I really don't think so, right? I don't know. Neo might not look like a smart person, but I can guarantee you he would have told his mom everything that she needed to know, right? Because if anything, she probably helped him hire lawyers.
As I understand, it can be disabled in sentry mode, but I mean, in that neighborhood, how something wasn't captured or somebody doesn't know more. I don't know how they don't have that evidence. Now, I have heard that there's, you know, one or two people in particular that I think it's been assumed have been cooperative, and I've heard still are not cooperating. And now that's just, you know.
Wait. What? Darcy said, I don't believe Neo lied to Dr. Cynthia, right? Again, yeah, she is a doctor, right? I don't know. I feel like Neo would be too scared to lie to his mom about the truth.
You know, one or two people in particular that I think it's been assumed have been cooperative, and I've heard still are not cooperating.
So SF just mentioned that it's been assumed that two people have possibly been cooperating, but he's hearing they have yet to cooperate. Is that what I heard? Is that what you guys heard too?
It's been assumed have been cooperative, and I've heard still are not cooperating. And now that's just, you know, rumor mill that I've heard from reliable sources, but I just can't believe they'd be that loyal to David. I mean, maybe it's because they have some more involvement, but I don't know. It scares me. It's been 5 months. If they haven't been able to lean on these people to get them to crack, if they haven't been able to find any actual evidence, then I don't know. I hope the case isn't, you know, dead in the water as far as, you know, the actual how she died, you know.
And this is unusual in your experience?
Tara, no. Nancy Grace was the one who said that he was hiding under his mom's bed. But I don't think, I think she was just over exaggerating, right? Basically just clowning the fact that he left LA and went all the way to Montana. He went all the way to Montana. And Kat's here, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
That it's taking this long?
I think it is in a crime like this where it's not like a super remote area and they found a person in a shallow grave or something like that. They found her in a vehicle registered to somebody that we find out that she was a runaway and was staying with at certain points of time. And I think it's going to be very clear. Prosecutors know where she was staying in those times in between where she was with David, but she was still a runaway. I mean, I know where that's at. And I think those people can fill in those gaps of, you know, when did she disappear?
He said what? Fill in those gaps? Like the name of our show?
I mean, I know where that's at. And I think those people can fill in those gaps of, you know, when did she disappear? When did she stop coming back to this location? And, you know, as far as how long was she gone? And also there's going to be questions of, okay, why didn't the alarm bells go off at that point? Like, okay, we haven't seen or heard from Celeste in a very long time because Celeste was not truly a missing person. They knew where she was at. And there was a missing persons report, and that was kind of covering, I think, for her not going to school. But there was then a large gap of time where people should have been like, okay, something's gone wrong.
Steve, before I let you go.
Talisha, thank you for hanging out. Got to catch some sleep early for once, everyone. Hit y'all up later. We'll see you next time, Talisha.
We got to go back to the idea of you're representing this client, right? This client who owns that property. What is your client thinking at this point? What does your client want to do with the information you have?
So his biggest concern.
Chloe said, I think that comment was obviously Neo. It was so lame. He's like, Neo is not hiding in his mom's basement. He is living in his mom's basement. As if that is so much better. It's worse. If David is the driver, there should surely be enough TOI charge. Yep. Get him. Get him, get him, get him. Sue him. Yeah, right. With what money? Sue him. Hell no. All I want him to do is just tell us who drove the damn Tesla. I feel like that's been the number one question this entire case, right? Because we know that there is surveillance footage of it. The only thing we want to know right now is who drove the Tesla. Just tell us.
Concern is, I can tell you, first of all, my client is, the owners of the house, the husband and wife, and they're extremely caring, empathetic people. They have a child around the same age, and they're like, they can't fathom something like this happening. And the fact that something could have happened in their house or with people that were living in their house that they didn't even know were living in their house. It's not about the house for them, or it's like, if there's anything we can do, like, in other words, because it happened on our property, if there's anything we can do to keep this story alive, what they want to do is they want to make sure that the next big story doesn't come along and Celeste is forgotten about, and just, it's like, oh, there's been no charges in that case. They really want to keep it out there and up front, and not just because it's a high profile case, but because to shine a light on this is happening. There's people that are predators who are taking advantage of these girls, and these things happen, and there's people around these predators that are kind of co-signing that behavior, and this has all got to just stop.
Steve Fisher, again, really appreciate you coming on to give us the latest and your perspective and providing.
Wait, I thought they did we already pass the part where he mentioned that she was trafficked? I could have sworn that was in there somewhere. How did we miss that? Y'all were just talking too much in the chat. Got me busy reading them. Hold on, we're gonna look for it. There you go. Oh, this was at the 18-minute mark, y'all. We're 6 minutes behind. Sheesh. All right, y'all get that? Did y'all hear it?
Celeste was trafficked, and the homicide. I understand the homicide is what we're looking for, but Celeste was trafficked. And listen, there's messages back and forth. They knew her age, and so it's not just that. Listen, there's sex crimes against this girl, and there's some people that knew what was going on. There's some people that gave rides to her back and forth, even to Lake Elsinore, and so it's not to her.
Wait. That part I didn't hear before.
There's sex crimes against this girl, and there's certain people that knew what was going on. There's some people that gave rides to.
So there were certainly people that knew what was going on. There were certain people who gave her rides. If he's not mentioning David, then to me, the person guilty of giving her rides to and from Lake Elsinore or back to the mansion is Lane Cooperstein. That's got to be the only person who I can think of. I don't think Rob would have done it. I don't even think Rob liked the girl, right? Remember, no, Hewitt Sounds, I don't think he cared one bit for her. I really don't think so. I think it was Lane Cooperstein, right? Because who do you see next to Celeste at every concert? Lane Cooperstein was literally her babysitter when she was not with David. She was the backstage keeper. She was probably the transportation, right? I mean, if she was the transportation, who knows? She may have been the person to move the Tesla, right? Who's Lane? Lane Cooperstein is supposedly, I don't know if they're together anymore, but supposedly either the girlfriend or ex-girlfriend of Rob Morgenroth. She's also one of the managers, I think, for Darkroom. I don't know if she's on another label too, but here, let's look her up. Hold on one second. And for those of you guys who don't know here, so we'll bring her up. We'll show you guys who Lane Cooperstein is. This is Lane Cooperstein, right? And in this, here, let's just make this bigger. There is the photo of Lane Cooperstein, and this is Rob Morgenroth. Apparently, they were together. And I don't know, if they ain't together, this hand around her waist just a little close, if you ask me, right? I'd probably get in trouble if I held some of my homegirls like this. I don't know. Is there another one of them kissing too? I don't know. Let's see. And whoa. Hold on. I just typed in Robert Morgenroth and Lane Cooperstein, and the last thing that popped up after it was wedding. But I can't find anything on it. Maybe they're married. All right, Sydney. We'll see ya. We'll see ya. Worked with David. She worked for Darkroom. So let me see. I think she has a LinkedIn, but I think she may have privated it. Lane Cooperstein, LinkedIn. Okay, so here, let's take a look at Lane Cooperstein. This is Lane Cooperstein. She works for Darkroom full time. She's a general manager. I'm sorry, let me bring this up here. And look at that, you guys. She is also an executive assistant with Interscope Records. She was an intern at Red Light in June 2015 to August 2015. And then she was a marketing intern from 2014. June 2014, August 2014. So, Tiwa Tambo, if you are a member, which I do see that you are, you can always go to my page, look at the community wall that we post. And then I think I posted a link from during the last live. So if you're still up, you know, maybe we'll go over there and have a little voice chat about this. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys are a member, right, you guys have chosen to donate your money to become a member, you might as well join the Discord, because we have some crazy talks in there. We got some really intelligent people that share a lot of good stuff. You know, we have some legal experts in there. We have some conspiracy theorists in there. We have some sleuthers in there. We got some really, and I have to add that the news that you hear in my lives go out to the Discord first. So the Discord is where it's at, y'all. But yeah, this is Lane Cooperstein. Clearly, she's removed her photo, right? Because there was a photo before, but it's no longer there. All right, we're right here. Let's finish
a large
this
gap
off.
of time where people should have been like, okay, something's gone wrong.
Steve, before I let you go, we got to go back to the idea of you're representing this client, right? This client.
I think anybody who's currently active in the chat right now is oh no, there may be subscribers, but look, if you want to become a member, we have very affordable tiers as low as 99 cents. Right, 99 cents. We made it affordable for some of you guys, you know, that may not have a lot to share. So, 99 cents. You know, it's not a lot. And you guys don't have to join. I'm just saying we've made it very affordable for people who do want to, you know, consider joining.
Who owns that property? What is your client thinking at this point? What does your client want to do with the information you have?
So his biggest concern is, I can tell you, you know, first of all, my client is, you know, the owners of the house, the husband and wife, and they're extremely caring, empathetic people. They have a child around the same age, and they're like, they can't fathom something like this happening. And the fact that something could have happened in their house or with people that were living in their house that didn't even know were living in their house. It's not about the house for them, or it's like, if there's anything we can do, like, in other words, because it happened on our property, if there's anything we can do to keep the story alive, right? What they want to do is they want to make sure that.
I think it totally makes sense if they're boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, why not share the same lawyer? Right? It's easy, right?
Next big story doesn't come along, and Celeste is forgotten about, and just it's like, oh, there's been no charges in that case. They really want to keep it out there and in the front, and not just because it's a high profile case, but because to shine a light on this is happening. There's people that are predators who are taking advantage of these girls. These things happen, and there's people around these predators that are kind of co-signing that behavior, and this has all got to just stop.
Steve Fisher, again, really appreciate you coming on to give us the latest and
we already
your
watched this,
perspective
y'all.
and providing a little bit more clarity as to what may be going on behind the scenes. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Jess.
And that's all we have.
All right, that's all we have for Law and Crime. So I want to take us to our last story, right? There was a Reddit post that went up, I want to say last night. I'm going to share this with you guys. There was this post right here, and I'll read it to you guys. It says, "For the purpose of anonymity, I am sharing this without identifying myself. I was close friends with someone who personally knew an individual named Eric, and they were aware that he was involved in a highly private relationship with the artist D4VD around November, December 2024. I am unsure whether this information is relevant to the ongoing Celeste case, and to be clear, this account is not intended to address or comment on the situation as it appears unrelated. According to multiple individuals close to Eric, he and David met at a house party in Los Angeles, after which they began communicating privately. During this period, Eric reportedly withdrew almost entirely from his family and friends. Several people in his circle noted that significant changes in his behavior following this time, describing him as increasingly hostile, depressed, distant, and engaging in substance use that, to their knowledge, he had not previously been involved with. I'm sharing this as an allegation supported by first-hand observations and accounts I have received, including the fact that I personally witnessed Eric and David together. Additionally, I have been sent photographs by Eric's friends anonymously, which I am not able to release at this time. According to those same sources, the relationship eventually ended, allegedly due to the involvement of a third party named Neo, as well as other personal reasons that were not disclosed to me. At this time, the only material detail that can be shown publicly is Eric's identity and a hoodie that David reportedly gave him during the relationship, which Eric is said to still possess. Those close to him state that he has chosen not to speak publicly about what occurred during the relationship or what ultimately led to the breakup, though they believe he may do so in the future. I'm sharing this information solely as context in the hopes that it may help clarify timelines or background and not as a definitive account of events." Says here, hold on, where am I at? He has not chosen to speak publicly about what occurred during the relationship or what ultimately led to the breakup, though they believe he may do so in the future. I'm sharing this information solely as context. I also added Eric's Instagram account in case he does end up posting something. As of now, he has deleted all of his posts and went on private since the situation has started. If anyone also has information that they would like to share, please do so, in the hope that it may help clarify timelines or background and not as a definitive account of events. So, what do y'all think about this? David in a secret relationship. Let me read some of the chats. Maybelline was a female refusing to go to court. Very possible, right? We do know that TMZ was the one who reported that there was a female witness who failed to appear, and Beth Silverman had suggested to Janessa that she was going to add a body attachment, so that person could be potentially arrested on a failure to appear and then be forced to testify in front of the jury. But back to this. Let's see. What SF is saying right now is the first time that I've heard this about the mansion owner. So the mansion owner and his wife want to keep the case alive. Yep, she looks back fondly on it all, and she said that she had a blast being with them, rock stars on the jets and limos. Gold digger, which is what I assumed we hoped. Maybe people will stop talking ish about the three of them. It's just so lame that his record label managers, lawyers, handlers, and managers let this happen. Rainbow flag. People like me, I would like to pass on some memberships, but it says YouTube chooses the recipients. Let me see. I would like to pass on some memberships, but it says YouTube chooses the recipients. I see some of them going to folks who are already members when they should go to non-members. Not sure, but Tambo, it does show that you are a member on my end. So, you should be able to get the Discord link. Smoke and mirrors. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? You guys think that there's any truth to it? But wait, if that was 2024 and this was supposedly before Neo, the timing seems off. Well, just to clarify, right, I do want to let you know that okay, so these are some of the photos that were shared during this post. Now, this is supposedly Eric, the person that this post was mentioning, was in a relationship with David. They also did share a few other photos, right? And I think what they wanted to show was this jacket right here that matched the same jacket that David was wearing in this photo. So David is wearing the same exact jacket, right? But in case any of you guys have, supposedly David gave this sweater to this person named Eric, but I do want to just ensure that all of you guys do know. Tara, thank you for gifting a membership. Who received that membership? Philly Steph received the membership, and shout out to Tara for sending that gifted membership. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I do just want to confirm, right? We do have sources that was able to reach out and get in contact with Eric, and we have confirmed that this story is not true. In case you were wondering, this story is completely false and bogus, and we do have a statement from this person. So let me just make sure that we have the right one, because I want to ensure that we. Let me see. Let me see. David must go for personality. No photos of Eric and David together, of course. Oh, I have no doubt he was doing multiple guys and gals, said Chloe. I could buy David hoodie. Don't mean I'm gonna date him, right? I don't know, Flojo, but what we do know is that they have the same jacket on. That is correct. But I do want to confirm that we have reached out. We have made contact with the reported person that David was dating, and he was able to provide us a statement and gave us permission to share his response. So let me just make sure. Hold on. Let me just make sure. Okay, so we've redacted some information from the person who was able to get in contact with them. But we do have his, he granted us permission to share his statement, right? So this is his statement. Person reached out and his response was, hey, hell no, I never dated the guy. For starters, I've been in a relationship with my husband for 5 years. Second, I'm 25. David is 20. Third, how the F am I going to date a whole ass celebrity? And then they continue to say that they know exactly who's creating these rumors. It's okay because they know who it is. And they continue to say that they are aware that someone was making a fake Instagram to send messages to all of his followers and harassing them. So it's been confirmed that this story about David dating Eric is completely false. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware in case that story was posted on Reddit. Okay, you're hearing it first. We debunked it. The whole story on Reddit is false. Don't believe it, right? It's fake news, right? So we got the scoop here. Yeah, had some people reach out and they were able to confirm that this did not happen. Eric does not know David. Yeah, he even said some other words, but I don't think we're gonna share those. He did have some other kind of words to say, but he did say justice for Celeste. Hey, Flow News is breaking in Nancy Guthrie, and it's kind of insane. Uh-oh. We got some new stuff, Chloe? I know somebody just put out a video. Who was it? What's it called? Ashley Banfield just put out a video. Let me know if you guys want to watch it. Because if you guys do, we got some time. What y'all want to do? I saw that, Chloe. I saw it. Let me know. Do you guys want to watch it? Type one in the chat if you guys want to watch. There's a new video regarding some updates on the Nancy Guthrie case. It says here, shocking, stunning new twist. Savannah's sister's car was seized and the cameras were smashed. So you guys decide. You let me know. We already got through the breaking news, right? We already dropped the scoop. Whose sister? Savannah's sister. All right, y'all. Y'all want to watch it? All right. We're going to pull it up. Let me see 1 second. Hold on. Let me get it back. All right. You guys ready? Here
Hey
we
everyone,
go.
I'm Ashley Banfield, and this is Drop Dead Serious.
Hold on. Let me catch up on the chat. Whose sister? Yes. Yes, we do. Smashed. Annie. Yep, I only care about Celeste. That's okay, Cat's here. Asia plays a lesbian in a music video. I can't remember who it is. Camera smashed and the sister's car. Ooh. Uh-oh. All right, y'all. Let's get right into it. For those of you guys who are no longer interested in this story, I do appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you guys for hanging out, but we're going to continue to watch this real quick. It is a lengthy video, but the video just went up, I want to say 26 minutes ago. So if you guys haven't seen it, it's an opportunity to watch it together.
Breaking information on the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mother in Tucson, Arizona. I have spoken with an impeccable law enforcement source who has informed me, with his knowledge of the investigation, of some extraordinarily serious pieces of information about this crime scene. I can tell you that Mrs. Guthrie had cameras, plural, at this home, and that they were smashed. You may have heard Brian Enton from News Nation talking earlier and asking Sheriff Chris Nanos a question in the news conference. And again, today, I'm recording on February the 3rd. It's a Tuesday. The press conference that was early in the day, Brian asked the sheriff, the camera on the front of the house is missing. And the sheriff said, we are trying to get into the companies that, are proprietors of this kind of cloud information to get that, and said by today, he did not have that information, did not have whatever was recorded. But I can tell you they are Nest cameras. They are Nest cameras, plural, and that whoever did this may have smashed those cameras, plural. So they're not there, presumably because law enforcement took those smashed cameras as evidence. I can also tell you I've got information about which door in the house was actually left open. There's been some erroneous reporting about some things. I now have the information about that. I can tell you about blood in the house. I can confirm. Brian Enton has some incredible reporting and pictures of blood outside the house. He's going to join me in a moment. We're going to talk about that. I can also tell you whose car has been towed into evidence. And I can tell you that there is a family member
now, this
who
is
being heavily
actually new, right? We haven't heard any reports about anybody's car getting towed. So this is some new stuff, y'all. So there might be some new information rolling out.
looked at right now as a potential suspect.
And really quick, before we go, right, we're going to end the poll now. 66% of you guys said yes, that was Neo's mom. 34% of you guys said no, it was not. I hate to break it to y'all. It was Neo's mom.
I'm going to bring that all to you in a moment. There's more information about Nancy's pacemaker. You probably have heard up until now that Nancy Guthrie had a pacemaker and it disconnected from her Apple devices, her Apple Watch, her Apple phone, which were left in the home at about 2 o'clock in the morning. And that is a significant time, and I will tell you why, that it is extraordinarily instructive to this investigation in terms of narrowing to a window. I'll explain why in a moment. Don't think that the pacemaker stopped working because she died. That's not it. The separation of Bluetooth between the things that the pacemaker was linked to, the Apple Watch and the phone. When they get out of range, you take your AirPods, you walk out, you leave an air tag behind, you get a notice, you're disconnected. That's more what this is about, but the timing of it is specific to narrow down the investigative window. So I'm going to get into all the details of all of these little pieces of information that I told you, because I've just touch the tip of the iceberg, but I also want to get you up to speed on all the information that came out today from a few different sources. Number one, from the sheriff himself, who held a news conference and answered questions. And then also from Brian Enton, because he got some great information. And as I mentioned, he's going to be up in just a moment with me. We're going to talk about all his findings. So John Edwards is the assistant special agent in charge of the FBI in Tucson. He joined Sheriff Chris Nanos for the news conference today. Again, it's February 3rd, Tuesday. They held this update, but they didn't give a lot of information. They just said, basically, this is to answer your questions in the press. And I can tell you that we found out this is not a gated community. Okay, that was one report that came out. It's not a gated community. It's also very dark and there are no streetlights. So very hard to see anything that might have been driving up and down those roads. The properties are huge, right? They're anywhere between 1 and 4 acres each. So more rural, don't think city, lit up, neighbor to neighbor.
Oh, okay. So y'all wanted me to let you guys know how we know that it was his mom. So I had some people doing some digging, and they were able to confirm that on her Facebook, she had posted the same videos to her Facebook, and they matched the same time frame that the videos on her YouTube were posted. So, yeah, we were able to confirm that it was her. Gotcha.
Sees everything. Your ring cam can see the street. It's not like that. Not everybody's ring cam can actually see the street from where they are on these big properties. The sheriff today said Nancy Guthrie's life is in jeopardy. Could be a couple reasons he said that. Number one, medications were left behind in the home. Medications that she would need within 24 hours could be fatal. And it's now 72 hours since the last time she was seen.
72 hours,
So
you guys. That is a total of 3 days. That is wild. Especially if they were heart medications. Who knows exactly what it could have been, but there's no reason this lady should go 24 hours without her medications.
Could be why he said her life's in jeopardy. Or he could have said it because
And I just heard too, imagine the shit that Savannah's going through. She just recently got over throat surgery too, right? She had just gotten out of throat surgery, so she was recovering, and she just recently came back to the Today Show. And then now she has to pull out of the Winter Olympics. She can no longer attend because of the situation. And now she's dealing with this, right?
I now have definitive sourced information saying that there was, in fact, blood inside and outside the home. So blood inside the home is scary because we now know she was taken against her will. Kidnapped was what the sheriff told me last night when I did my episode before. So blood inside the home, kidnapped forcefully, taken forcefully. That could probably be part of the reason why her life is in jeopardy. And Brian Enton's going to show you the pictures of the blood outside the home that he discovered today as well. The media has helped generate a lot of leads, the sheriff said. That's really important. He said, if you've got any information, 1-800-CALL-FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. If you know anything, even if it's tiny, the tiniest thing can lead to the biggest thing. The sheriff has said it's been helpful. They do not know what she was wearing when she was abducted, when she was kidnapped and taken from that home. They don't know if there were one or more kidnappers. Any indications she's still alive? Sheriff said, no idea. Can't tell you that. Is there a threat to the public? We were a little confused by the answer before. I think what he was trying to say was that we feel like this is an unusual circumstance. We don't think that this is going to be a serial kidnapping or whatever else has happened to Mrs. Guthrie, but there's someone out there that did this. So yeah, the threat is out there. He's not going to go as far as they did
Good
in
night,
Idaho
Barbara
early
Bish.
on
Thank
and
you for
say
hanging
there's no
out.
threat to the public, because Brian Koberger was out there for, over 6 weeks, and he's a threat to the public. But it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like there was no threat. It didn't feel like there was a big threat. So take that the way you will. Were there any valuables taken, ATM cards? The sheriff would not say. Sheriff wouldn't say, was there forced entry? I can tell you definitively there was absolutely forced entry. The pacemaker information, they didn't want to talk a lot about it, but I will tell you, my reporting, my source says...
Sharon. Where have you been, Sharon? Oh, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Sharon, I miss you. It's been a minute since we've had you in the chats.
The 2 a.m. separation, when the pacemaker stopped responding to the devices it was connected to, the Apple phone, the Apple Watch, that is the time they are narrowing down this kidnapping to. Yes, she was last seen at 9:45, but the kidnapping, they are pegging it to that moment, because that is when the pacemaker that's inside the girl, the woman, the elderly mother who was taken out of that house, it's separated. And so that is what they are now narrowing the disappearance time down to, according to my law enforcement source with knowledge of this investigation. Pacemaker separates 2 a.m. That's when they believe the actual kidnapping happened. The house was turned back over to the family yesterday after 6 p.m. Again, that would be Monday, February 2nd. They processed everything. Crime scene tape went up, done with the residents, turned back over to the family, but nobody washed the blood off the front steps up to the front door. And Brian Enton was able to go up and look at it because it's not a crime scene anymore. You're going to talk to Brian in a moment about that. I think I mentioned this before, but if I didn't, they are...
David is guilty, not necessarily, right? The pacemakers they go on for a really, really, really long time. I think what the issue is that the Bluetooth capability within the pacemaker was no longer able to make contact with the device, whether that was the Apple Watch that they had mentioned, or if it connected to the cell phone. And they said that it last pinged back to the Apple Watch at 2 a.m. in the morning. So they're thinking that shortly after it last pinged to the Apple Watch, that she may have been abducted soon after 2 a.m.
Are waiting for the camera information and very frustrated. The police are very frustrated by how long it's taking to get the Nest company. I learned that it is the Nest company. It's not Ring Cam. It's not Ring.com. It's Nest cameras that were...
Okay, so Nest, if I'm not mistaken, Nest is what? Amazon or Google? I can't remember, but I know Nest got bought out by Amazon, right? If I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Okay, Nest cameras are owned by Google. They were acquired by Google in 2014, bringing Nest smart home products, including its popular cameras and thermostat, under Google's umbrella and rebranding them as the Google Nest.
Out front that were smashed. They are waiting for the corporate Nest executives to yield that information back to the sheriffs. Listen, 72 hours. It's been a long time. I can understand why the sheriff would be frustrated that it's taking this long. This was at, again, 1:30 today. It's about 7 hours ago. So...
All right, I'm going to go out on a reach here. We're at 62 likes. Is there any way that we can get the likes up to 100 today before the end of the live? I know I'm reaching, but I know you guys can do it. If there's any community out there, I know is the Inner Circle gang.
That might have happened in the last 7 hours. Maybe the sheriff has that camera information now. And with those cameras being smashed, right? That's evidence. All of that is evidence, right? What was the tool used to smash them? What did it look like? All of that. And so when Brian Enton asked the sheriff, the cameras are missing, and the sheriff wouldn't go there, clearly the police have taken those cameras, smashed, as evidence, and those are now in evidence lockup as part of this investigation. But again, I can't reiterate enough how dark this area is. No streetlights, dark and rural. Whoever smashed those cameras could very well have been completely cloaked, and that may not help a lot. Maybe you'll see someone's gate. Maybe the exterior lights were off on the home. Who knows? Depends on what kind of Nest cam she has. Does it show night vision? I mean, there's lots of different levels that you can get. Who knows what information that will yield? Whoever smashed those cameras, what will we see? What kind of, right-handed, left-handed? walking up. What was the gait? Does it look like a man? Does it look like a woman? Hopefully that could have been ascertained before the cameras actually ended up being smashed.
All right, y'all. Sorry about that. Oh, what a rookie mistake. I swear to God. I froze. No, I was reading an article. I was trying to read it to y'all, but by the time I looked back at the screen, I realized that I was on mute. I was reading an article from page 6. It basically said that FBI agents visit Savannah Guthrie's sister's house as desperate search for mom Nancy continues. It continues to say FBI agents were spotted at Savannah Guthrie's sister Annie's home in Arizona on Tuesday as the search for the missing mother continues. Law enforcement agents, including FBI and sheriffs, were photographed leaving Annie's home after a 2-hour meeting Tuesday afternoon where Savannah is also believed to be. Officials said nothing as they left the property. Here, so let me bring this over really quick because this was posted about 3 hours ago. Right? And then it says Savannah and Annie's 84-year-old mother, Nancy, has been missing since Sunday. Annie was the last person to see Nancy after bringing her back to the house from dinner Saturday night. Police believe Nancy was likely abducted from her home in Tucson. A spokesperson for the Pima County, not country. Pima County Sheriff's Department told Page 6 Monday that investigators believe Nancy was taken from the home against her will, possibly in the middle of the night. So, crazy. Where'd it go?
Very, very disturbing.
So, I saw Chloe with shout out to Sharon, just renewed her subscription to become a member of the Inner Circle. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sharon. Welcome back. Good to have you. All right, so Chloe said, okay, not putting this one out there publicly out of fear of being a conspiracist, but some of my buddies have alerted me that the sister has a suspicious romantic partner. Let's go and look that up.
Completely planned, right? This isn't some random, drug addict who's just looking to rob a house. This is something far more premeditated. If the cameras, plural, are smashed, whoever did this knew there was more than one. I am going to have all of this for you in exquisite detail in just a minute. I do have to just tell you this. I have sponsors that make this podcast possible. And I just want to tell you a little bit about my latest one because lately everything is feeling extraordinarily expensive and stressful.
Is this another ad? No, Ashley, we don't do that.
So then when I just increase rocket money, back to the information on the case. The investigation is not yielding enough money for the sheriff to feel as though he needed to give more regular updates because he said, I'm not giving another one for 2 days. Not until Thursday, February the 5th. Today's the Tuesday, the 3rd. Unless warranted, unless something happens. Something happened today when Brian Enton was standing right outside in front of Nancy Guthrie's house that was unique and interesting and may have been information tipped. I'll tell you that in a moment, and I'll show you the pictures from the sky. There was a chopper up ahead. So I'll tell you that in just a moment. But it was super fascinating that the sheriff wouldn't confirm blood evidence, but Brian Enton confirmed it outside, and I have confirmed it inside. There was blood inside the home. There was blood outside the home. So let me get to some of Brian Enton's amazing reporting as well before I give you a little bit more.
Veronica
of what my
Rodriguez, yes,
told me.
We are still live. What's up, Veronica? Welcome.
Especially about the prime suspect and the car that was towed. That's very, very distressing. Brian also learned about forced entry into the house, and he learned of the 2 alleged ransom notes. We're going to talk at length about that. One went to TMZ, one went to a local TV station in Tucson. We have thoughts. Lots of people have thoughts. The sheriff has some thoughts, apparently. But I'll talk to Brian about that in a moment, and I will read for you what those are. I'm also going to tell you this, that the sheriff was concerned enough that he put out a statement with a QR code.
We are aware of the reports circulating about possible ransom notes regarding the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. We are taking all tips and leads very seriously. Anything that comes in goes directly to our detectives who are coordinating with the FBI. We encourage anyone who may have any information or tips to share them via this QR code. That's from the Sheriff, Chris Nanos.
Okay, let me read this. Sheriff said, we are aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes plural. It's ransom note, parentheses S. So a note
Somebody's
or notes
going to be responsible,
regarding
David.
the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. We are taking all tips and leads very seriously. Anything that comes in goes directly to our detectives who are coordinating with the FBI. We encourage anyone who may have information, any information or tips to share via this QR code. So he answered the question too during the press conference when he was asked about, were there ransom notes? Has anybody reached out to Savannah Guthrie or her family? Who takes an 84-year-old woman? What's the point? It would seem like they'd want something. And he didn't say no. He just said the same thing that you just heard. We're looking at all leads. So they may have looked at the TMZ lead right before that press conference and they weren't ready to say whether that.
Based off of looking at the blood, I mean, it's hard to say what direction it is because the blood splatter looks like it's going directly down towards the ground, right? So in the event that maybe she was possibly carried, the blood could have been dripping directly down from, wherever she was. Just from the looks of it, obviously I'm not a detective. I don't know any of this, the forensics and how that stuff looks, but to my knowledge from what it looked like, and I think we have the video here. Let's see, we can take a look at this video right over here. Let's see, hold on. Let's just kind of go back. Now, if we were to just look at the evidence, I don't know, it looks like maybe it could have been leaving like away from the house. Even that's questionable though. I don't know. I don't know how all y'all CSI people out there. This part right here is what like makes me question, because there's a ton of small tiny drops there, meaning that it probably came out like at high pressure, or maybe, I don't know, tiny little drops, like as if it was like squirted through a small little vessel. You know what? It could have been a cough where the person was containing blood, right? So when they cough, a little splatter of blood came out. And that's probably where they believe that, a crime was committed there. Which could totally make sense. Totally makes sense.
They thought it was legit or just some hoaxer. And maybe the Tucson TV station got one as well. I was a scam artist born every day. So, by the way, very illegal. Very traceable. We'll get to that. Okay. Savannah put out a post today, and the Today Show, obviously this is their colleague. I'm a colleague of Savannah's. I worked with Savannah for years. We've been friends for years. We've done charity events together. She's dear. She's very dear to me, and it's breaking my heart that she is down there where she grew up in Tucson, trying to find her mom. And she gave the Today Show a statement about where they stand at this point. This is how the Today Show aired it.
Chanel is in for Savannah once again, who remains with her family in Arizona.
Good morning, and that is where we begin this morning. The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah's mother, and a beloved part of our Today family. Authorities in Arizona now saying the 84-year-old appears to be the victim of an abduction.
Overnight, Savannah posting this.
Sorry, y'all. Just want to make sure I give a shout out to Military Ma, who just gifted 1 membership. Let's go. If you received a membership from Military Ma, please make sure you thank them in the chat. Military Ma, thank you for your continued support. I appreciate you.
Image on Instagram. Please pray. She went on to write, "We believe in prayer. We believe in voices raised in unison, in love, in..."
Viking, it was mentioned that, hey, there you go. Military Ma showing off with her membership chat. Been a member for 1 month. Yep. Welcome to the inner circle. Where's Tiffany Bones 20? Where you at, Tiffany? Just got gifted a membership. Make sure you thank Military Ma. It said, what if it was from them ripping off the camera, or did the police do that? So Viking woman, it was mentioned earlier that by the time the police got to the house, they noticed that the Nest camera was already ripped off. So it was gone before they even got there.
Hope. We believe in goodness. We believe in humanity. Above all, we believe in him.
I appreciate
She added,
you, Military Mom. Thank
for
you.
lifting your prayers with ours for our beloved mom, our dearest Nancy, a woman of deep conviction, a good and faithful servant. Raise your prayers with us and believe with us that she will be lifted by them in this very moment. She goes on to say, we need you. Bring her home.
And obviously, Savannah's not on the Today Show. She wasn't on yesterday either. And she will not be going to Italy to do the Winter Olympics. This is huge for Savannah. This is every 4 years. It is one of the biggest assignments. The amount of prep that it takes to do the Olympics, it's weeks and weeks and weeks of work. And she is not going. And someone is going to have to take her place and get up to speed and cover for her. But how heartbreaking that is that she's not going to be able to do that. And she will not be at the Winter Olympics at all for that coverage. Helicopters showed up above Brian Enton while he was doing a live report today, above Nancy Guthrie's house. And it was the sheriff's helicopter. And there was a guy hanging out of it. And it was low. It was low enough to see him hanging out of it and looking around. And that wasn't the only emergency vehicle either. I'm going to tell you about that when I talk to Brian. There's another vehicle that was law enforcement related. And it does speak volumes to what might have happened that sent those
Yep,
two
you're right, Pika.
vehicles out, the helicopter and the pickup truck. Tell you that in a moment. First, let me tell you some devastating stuff. So my law enforcement source tells me that the back door of the Guthrie home was the door that was left wide open.
Wow.
Was it the point of entry?
Hold on, you guys. Did you guys hear that?
That the back door of the Guthrie home was the door that was left wide open. Was it the point of entry?
The back door was open. You see, when people live in very wealthy neighborhoods, they tend to think that no matter what, they are safe. And I'm not blaming anybody, right? Because it's just commonly known that, if your neighborhood is safe, sometimes you just don't lock the door. And in this case, her back door may have been unlocked this entire time.
The back door of the Guthrie home was the door that was left wide open.
Okay, not only just unlocked, it says that it was left wide open, right? That's completely different, right? You are not going to catch me dead leaving any of my doors open overnight. About to have a crackhead walk through here and, rummage through my refrigerator. No, thank you. I barely got food to feed myself, right? I ain't going to have no crackhead walk open through this door and try to take my milk. Nope.
Was it the point of
Hey,
entry?
Adele, welcome.
Was it the point of egress? Don't know that. But it was open, wide open, and it was in the back, not the front.
Hold on, let me see that. So look, I don't know if you guys can see right there under the comment, right there. You can see, looks like she's wearing her Apple Watch, but you can see some sort of like slight bruising around her arm. So it's very possible that she's actually on blood thinners, right? Especially if she's on medication that she really can't miss. If she's got something like atrial fibrillation, she's probably taking, God, where my nurse is at? Somebody help me out. What's the blood thinner that people take when they have AFib? They got to get their labs checked twice a week. Where my nurse is at? Somebody help. But you can see right here that it looks like she may have bruising on her arms, right?
Was it the point of egress?
Right here, you can see down here in this area, she's got bruising, right? So if she is potentially on blood thinners, Coumadin, there you go, Hope. There, see? Got my nurses in the chat pulling through. Coumadin, warfarin, right? There you go. Medications like warfarin, right? They help lower or prevent the development of blood clots. And for somebody who does have heart issues like atrial fibrillation, it's really important that they have these medications. So for her to be off of those medications for 72 hours could be very detrimental to her health.
Don't know that. But it was open, wide open, and it was in the back, not the front. Brian Enton saw blood at the front door. So did a struggle happen at the front door? Was there a doorbell rung at 2 a.m.? Why was the back door open? A lot of questions there, but the back door, according to my law enforcement source, was left wide open. I told you already, 100% blood inside the house. My law enforcement source told me that police have now towed and impounded the vehicle belonging to Nancy Guthrie's daughter, Annie Guthrie.
I'm not gonna lie, just watching Ashley Banfield and the microphone that she has, she's got a really cool looking mic. I might have to set up a new mic fund or something like that, so we can get Ashley's microphone.
This is important because you've heard that the last point of contact with Nancy Guthrie was when she was dropped off by her daughter at 9:45-ish at night on Saturday night. So Annie Guthrie, and possibly her husband as well, Tommaso Cioni.
Ooh, hold on. Now we have a name. Tommaso Cioni. Aha. Okay, so a tweet put out by Jennifer Coffendaffer, the retired FBI agent. Let's see what she says. She put out a post. How long ago was this? Oh, this was in the morning. So here, let me just show you guys this, because this is a photo of, I believe this is his sister, Annie. This is Annie with mom. Sorry, y'all, let me turn off my camera. This is mom, Savannah, and Annie. And then here is a photo of her husband, Tommaso. What is it? Tommaso Cioni? It says here that Annie Guthrie and her husband, Tommaso Cioni, dropped off Nancy between 9:30 and 9:45 p.m. Saturday night. They live nearby. I want to know, the sheriff said that there were no red flags concerning the drop-off. Law enforcement has repeatedly said family has been most helpful. The sheriff said the case was not related to robbery or ransom, which indicates personal or just a random act of violence against an older woman who was angry at 84-year-old Nancy. Or was this completely random? Rare, but possible. I don't know. They use Dilantin as a pain medication now. I've only given it for seizures. His beard hides his secrets. You know what? That's crazy that you said that, Chloe, because that's the first thing that I thought when I seen that beard. Ooh, does that beard hold a lot of secrets? I have no tolerance for kidnappers or scammers trying to steal people's money. It makes me wonder if this guy has held any kind of grudges with Savannah, right? I'm not going to say that he's a suspect, right? That would be wrong of us. But for them to take her car and impound it, that speaks volumes. What in the world would they have seen in that car? I don't know. It just strikes me as very odd.
Were the last people to see her at 9:45 at night, Saturday night. Sunday morning, 11 a.m., church members reached out to the family. Hey, your mom wasn't in church. Not normal. She's always there. What's up?
That tells you how much of a churchgoer she was. She was always at church. Always. She never skipped a beat, right? Never missed a day. And by 9:10, you guys, 9:10, 10 minutes later, were they alerted and ended up calling the family to let them know, yo, something's not wrong. Or sorry, that something is wrong. Something is wrong. She didn't show up and she's always here.
Family member goes over, calls, family member or members goes to the house, calls 911, and the investigation begins. But they have towed Annie Guthrie's car. And there is some connection to Annie Guthrie's car and Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law. That would be Annie's husband.
My God, I swear to God, we were just talking about it. And it was Chloe that, had kind of hinted to it earlier. So,
Tommaso Cioni, age 50, from Tucson, Arizona, married to Annie P. Guthrie, Savannah's sister. And my law enforcement...
I'm telling, look at that beard. Yep.
Enforcement source tells me that Thomas Ocioni is the prime suspect in this case.
Wow. Okay, you guys, breaking news that Tommaso Cioni has been named or viewed or identified as the main suspect. Wow.
Again, law enforcement source tells me that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, married to Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister, is...
This guy just looks like the culprit. Look at this photo right here. Wow. Cats here said, I'm a beard bitch. I like it. It's the eyes that look sus.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Oof.
Be a prime suspect in this case. At the very least, let me tamp that
Yeah,
down.
we're breaking news over here, Adele.
Sometimes it's the first person you're looking at, not prime as in the...
Yeah, do me a favor. Drop a breaking news emoji in the chat, 'cause we're breaking news over here. Breaking news.
There's no one else. Okay, so let's be really mindful of that. Families are always looked at first as well. It doesn't mean right away. Listen, Ed Smart was targeted for weeks as, without question, somebody they needed to look at. Possible suspect, right? Heartbreaking for Ed and Lois Smart.
Y'all mean to tell me that they were able to identify the son-in-law as a suspect and David is still walking free? Yo, get this man the fuck out of here.
Because it wasn't them who took Elizabeth, right? But that's what happens. When anything happens like this, familial abductions, the family's looked at first, and Annie and or Thomas Ocioni were the last people to see Nancy Guthrie at 9:45 at night, the night before she disappeared, abducted,
Sad.
kidnapped. Kidnapped was the word that the sheriff used with me. But it's very distressing to think that this law enforcement source is telling me that Thomas Cioni is maybe a prime suspect in this case at this point, and that the car belonging to Annie has been towed and impounded and is in evidence. That's the word that was used with me. This law enforcement source also said to me,
All right, hold on. So let me make sure that you guys understand who Tommaso Cioni is. Tommaso Cioni is a teacher at Basis Schools in Tucson, Arizona. Looks like he's a teacher. He's been teaching at Basis Schools from July 10th up until today. So for the past 15 years and 8 months. Works in higher education. What skill sets does he have? He's got teaching skill sets, research, public speaking, curriculum design, educational leadership, and fundraising. Wow.
what is the motive to kidnap an 84-year-old woman? The way it was described to me is, that's a burden, right?
A teacher,
it's
y'all.
a burden to kidnap an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues needing medication. That is a burden. And then this law enforcement source said,
Oh, and his LinkedIn is all blacked out. He got no pictures up. So, sus. Looking sus.
So you look at people who would have a benefit to an 84-year-old woman going away, disappearing or dying. Sometimes it's somebody who has an insurance benefit from that. Sometimes it's somebody who may benefit because there's a debt. And that may be helpful. These are just musings. They are not evidence, okay? But they are musings from people I trust implicitly due to their longevity in the business of investigating this exact kind of thing. I told you already about the pacemaker information. The law enforcement sources have narrowed it down to the kidnapping happening at 2 a.m. based on the pacemaker stopping at 2 a.m.
Wow, so they've actually nailed the timeline down based off of when the pacemaker disconnected from the Apple Watch. That's a pretty crazy way to track it, right? That's pretty wild. To do that knowing Savannah was headed to Italy for such a big job too. So they knew that they had some time, right? Maybe not knowing that it would affect her ability to actually go. But yeah, you're right. To do that knowing Savannah was headed to Italy for such a big job. That is wild. I just pulled up an article from Men's Journal. What did it say? Let me see. So I don't know if any of you guys follow JLR Investigates, but he put up a tweet earlier, it was last night, mentioned that the daughter Annie Guthrie and her boyfriend Tommaso Cioni, they bought a $650,000 home last year, 10 minutes away from Nancy's home. So they lived really close, really, really close.
That's when they believe Nancy was taken from that house. All forms of DNA
right?
were submitted, right? But the sheriff himself said that it came back. Like, so far, the details that have come back have not pointed to a suspect, which tells them that it was likely Nancy's blood, not a suspect. Or at least nothing has come back yet to point to a suspect regarding the blood. My law enforcement source said that they will be searching every single cell phone ping, the geofencing, all the rest. This source told me that this is someone who knew where the cameras were. Somebody who was familiar with this home, this premises, this woman. They knew where the cameras were in order to smash those Nest cameras,
sure did.
Plural. Okay. And as far as the TMZ ransom note, my source says that they don't believe that this is real. They think it's just troublemakers trying to insert themselves into this story. Could that change? Yes. I just want to give you a little bit of information on Tommaso Cioni, Annie Guthrie's husband, whom at this point I am told again may be a prime suspect in this case. He's 50, from Tucson. His bio from a
Let's see if we're right, y'all. Let's see if we're right.
Website that's an Italian website, an official Italian website for the Taparulan Society, Cultural Association, the Taparulan Cultural Association, a nonprofit focused on promoting contemporary artists. His bio says, I was born in San Giovanni, Valderno on June 18th, 1975. Since 2006, I have lived in Tucson, Arizona. I write when I have the chance. I study lizards. I play the electric bass. I make homemade pasta. LinkedIn reports that Tommaso Cioni is a teacher at Basis Oro Valley School from 2007 until present. Says he's a primary instructor for 6th grade science and AP biology. Reverb Nation, that's a music website, says that he put out an album with a 3-man music group called Early Black. Music is apparently available, but that's all I know about Annie Guthrie's husband, who, again, one law enforcement source, very connected, highly regarded, impeccable credentials, knowledge of this investigation, says that Tommaso Cioni, Annie P. Guthrie's husband, may be the prime suspect in this case, and Annie's vehicle has been...
But what is the reason, though, right? For him to potentially kidnap and abduct his wife's mother. I wonder if the wife pissed him off. Or she knew, right? I don't know. Which way do you guys lean? Do you guys feel like they may have gotten into some sort of an argument, or there's a possibility that she knew that it was going to happen?
Code impounded and is now in evidence. Very distressing. So Brian Enton is with me from News Nation. He's been doing some incredible work since landing on the ground in Tucson. Brian, you have done, again, some outstanding reporting out in front of Nancy Guthrie's home. When the crime scene was turned over to the family, you found a blood trail.
Yeah, we did. And I was kind of surprised, Ashley, that it was not a...
Insurance policy, allegedly. Woo, boy. That's some wild. Ooh, gold digger. Imagine how much truth there could be over that.
Crime scene anymore. I don't know why I just expected that they would still have some tape outside. Or, you know, when you cover these things, they'll have like one police car that stays behind. Everybody left. I mean, it was just empty, except there were some, what I thought were family members coming and going today. I don't know who they were. So we decided, like, let's just go knock on the door and see if anybody is home, you know, just to kind of see what's going on, since it's not a crime scene. It's all open back up. And so walking up to the front door, you could see that there was blood right outside the front.
No, flying word. I believe they said that he's 50 years old. Yeah, so he wasn't born in 85. Ooh, no. Maybe 1975. possibly.
Door on the ground, like on the stoop right there, right near the front mat going in. Just, not a ton of blood, but it was definitely blood. It was all right there. And then when you looked up, you could see where the camera was right by, like almost like where it looked like a doorbell, but it was a camera, and the camera was gone.
Well, and my information from my source is that those cameras were smashed, not just the front one. There was a second one. Whoever did this knew there were two, smashed them. So presumably the fact that you saw that they're...
I'm not going to lie. Hold on. Let's give a shout out to Ashley Banfield, because out of all the interviews that came out with Nancy Grace and Jesse Weber, not saying that they weren't good, because they were all really good. No, I don't think Jesse Weber did one, but Law and Crime did one. And they also had SF Investigates on it too, which was crazy. I don't know if any of you guys seen it, but Ashley has done her research. She's coming with some fire facts tonight.
Gone means that the police took them for evidence.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, though, is when I asked the sheriff, I was at the press conference, and I asked the sheriff, we noticed that the camera is gone in the front. Do you think the perpetrator took the camera? He said, we noticed that too, and all of that is under investigation. So it was kind of strange. Like, he didn't give me an answer. Like, was it the perpetrator who took the camera? Was it the police who took the camera? But he acknowledged that they also noticed that the camera was gone.
I think he's having to answer in real time to, investigative information and evidence that he doesn't want out there, probably. And having to, tap dance in front of live cameras, which is really hard.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a small
that.
place. Tucson has barely...
But she hasn't had one with SF Investigates for a while. It's been a minute. So she's due for one. And I think SF needs to spill the tea on her show.
Had, massive crime. I think one of the biggest things was Gabby Giffords.
Thank you, Coco Mom.
15, 20 years ago.
I know, sorry, we're late.
This is a lot. This is a big crime for them to process, and the media attention is sort of stifling. It's really, really hard. Let's just talk a little bit about that blood trail a little bit before we go more into the cameras. But you find the blood trail at the front door. The front door is closed. At least it is now. My law enforcement source has told me the back door was wide open, which sort of gives you just so many questions. Is that where the perpetrator came in? Is that where the perpetrator went out with Mrs. Guthrie? Did Mrs. Guthrie answer the front door at 2 a.m. and there was a pitched fight, and that's why the blood is there? Because I think you mentioned the blood doesn't go further out along the stones to the driveway.
Yeah, that's right. We looked, and it was just in that area near the door. It's not like there were droplets that went out to where the driveway is, or even in the driveway, which made me think, did they take Miss Guthrie out the front? And like you said, the back door being open, maybe they came in the back and took her out the front and into a car. And maybe that's why the blood just stopped right there. We just
Coco
don't
Mom,
know.
hold on. Coco Mom. Thank you so much for your donation on Cash App. I do appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry you can't stay, but we appreciate your company and your presence. Thank you so much for hanging out.
In my half-hour-long conversation with the sheriff last night, I said, so you think that perhaps when you say Mrs. Guthrie was taken out of that home, she did not walk out of that home, are you telling me she was carried over the threshold of the front door? And he said, I did not say the front door. So that was a clue to me. Wait, okay, not the front door. And then I learned today that the back door is open. So I am very curious. There were some erroneous reports about Mrs. Guthrie was dragged from her bed. The sheriff actually put out a statement saying that is not what I said.
That's right, Coco Mom. Let them know. YouTube ain't getting that 40%. I appreciate you. Thank you for being so mindful. Thank you. I appreciate that.
At this point, the sheriff was walking back anybody who reported she was dragged from her bed. We don't know if the bedroom was, the epicenter of this crime yet. We don't know if there's ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, and Mrs. Guthrie comes down at 2 a.m. What's going on? And something happens at the front. But why then would the back door be wide open? It's very, very confounding. Why would the blood be in the front, but the back door is open? Or did they, like you said, come in the back door, go up to the bedroom, but then take her out the front?
Yeah, and I'm just looking behind me because there's more cars in the driveway now. Step out of the way. You see that white Volvo, and then there's a truck. I think I think they've maybe brought security people in to just kind of keep an eye on the house. But one thing that you don't know until you're here, I didn't realize, is this isn't like a normal neighborhood, Ashley. It's right in the foothills. Every house is, I would say, is on at least an acre, maybe 2, 3, or 4 acres. They're almost like little ranches. And it's pitch. I mean, we've got our lights on for, because we're doing our camera work, but it's pitch black out here. There is not one light out here. And it's a ways to the next house. So I'm just thinking if they came in through the back door, to take her out the back door, though, it's not like there'd be a little alley back there. I mean, there's like cactus. This is not, it's like kind of wild land out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But whoever smashed the cameras maybe thought it would be an easier way to get in the back door to smash a camera without being seen.
Coco's mom is doing it again. Thank you so much. Gifted 5 memberships in the chat. If you guys received a gifted membership, please make sure you thank Coco Mom. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Go in the back and then maybe smash the front camera from the inside of the house coming out. Who knows? I mean, but whoever it was, my law enforcement source said they knew there were those cameras and where they were in order to smash them. We're getting to that in a bit. But helicopters overhead while you were doing your live shot earlier today. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there was a sheriff helicopter that got very, very low over the house with 2 men looking out and down. And my first thought was like, oh, sometimes they'll just kind of come by to come look real quick and then they'll leave. But they stayed for over an hour over the house and then across the street. And then in like kind of, again, it's almost like fields out here, but with a lot of cactuses in the vicinity of the house, very low, looking around. And then we saw a search and rescue truck out here, which we hadn't seen all day. So
What's
I don't
up,
know
DJ
if
See No
there was
Evil?
kind of like, hey, we left some stone unturned and we just want to go back out and look one more time, or if there was a specific tip that came in, something specific that they were looking for. But it was very clear that they were looking for something. Because again, at first I thought like, oh, the helicopter's doing a pass. The sheriff's office just wants to show that they're keeping an eye on the area. But no, they were searching for.
And let me give a quick shout out to DJ See No Evil. And I just want to put it out there. If anybody happens to watch my stream or listen to my stream, if there's anything that I can do to help make my stream a little bit more watchable or easier to listen to, please let me know, because I do want to cater to all audiences. So just want to put it out there. So shout out to you, DJ See No Evil, for hanging out all the time.
For something.
Yeah, and I think Jennifer Coffendorfer mentioned they might have gotten called a tip, and they were out trying to find whatever it was they thought might be within the vicinity of the house. Or maybe they thought whoever took her couldn't manage for too long. And maybe there was something in the wilds. Like you said, it's pretty rural out there. The other thing that's upsetting, and I don't want to think this, is that if you're going to leave a body somewhere, there are so many wild animals in that area at night. It's very, very hard to keep the integrity of a potential body, if there is one, intact for a long time with all the wildlife. And let's hope that that's not the situation. The ransom notes, let's talk a little bit about that. One to TMZ that was detailed about what she was wearing, details inside the house, and then asking for Bitcoin. And another one to a local TV station. Let me see which one it is. I think it's KOLD TV in Tucson. KOLD, yeah. My law enforcement source says he's not putting a lot of stock in that. There's a lot of crazies out there that want to insert themselves. But what are you hearing from where you are?
Yeah, so you mentioned with the TMZ note, we learned that in the note there were some specifics about what Nancy was wearing and then specifics about the inside of the house, but we don't know if those are true. I mean, like that was just coming from TMZ. We don't know if it actually, is going to check out with what she was actually wearing.
Yeah, like TMZ got it. Like TMZ got that.
And it was an email, by the way.
In an email, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But is it just some lunatic
Tambo.
who's going to be traced and charged? And also the sheriff said that they don't know what she was wearing. So how could
Correct.
Anyway, that's part of the idea here is that emails can be traced.
Yeah, they can be traced. I don't know. I think the whole thing is a little weird. Like, why would the kidnapper reach out to TMZ? And then I noticed that TMZ, Harvey Levin was
Lexi
saying they were
Moreno,
having a hard
welcome.
time getting in touch with the sheriff initially, which I just found to be kind of strange if the sheriff was taking it that seriously. But the sheriff's office did put out a statement later saying, acknowledging these and saying that they were investigating. Yeah, there it is. And when I was at the press conference earlier, we asked, have there been any ransom notes? And I thought it was
DJ See No Evil, we got you over here, man. We appreciate you just being here and listening.
interesting. Again, the sheriff didn't answer the question. He just said, we're looking into every. And yesterday he was much more open, Ashley. I mean, you had him on your podcast. He was all over the place. He was answering every question. He was kind of like hard to follow it sometimes. I'm like, he was talking about his gut feeling about things. And I'm like, is it really what he's saying actually fact? Or anyway, but today he was much, much more careful.
Yeah, and obviously, like I said before, they're a little bit new at this. I mean, they don't get this kind of stuff going on in this rural area in Pima County.
She said, Brian looks like he needs to keep me. That he needs to, what? Oh, he needs me to keep him warm tonight. I thought you said Brian looks like he needs to keep me warm tonight. Y'all over here tripping over Brian Enton.
But, upsetting just to think that somebody, if it's true, maybe trying to insert themselves. Let's get to some of the other breaking stuff that my source told me that's just kind of
Ashley got a lot of sources, y'all. Y'all better not sleep on Ashley.
The house. You found the blood outside the house. The confirmation from my law enforcement sources that there was blood inside the house as well. And that they have towed Annie Guthrie's car. Annie Guthrie being Savannah Guthrie's sister and the last person to have dropped Mrs. Guthrie off at 9:45 the night before, but that they have towed and impounded her car into...
Peekaboo, there is nothing wrong with being 40, okay? Your boy turns 40 in about... What is it? What are we on? What day are we on? We're on the 4th now? No, we're about to be on the 4th. In about 11 days, y'all. So, best believe we're going to have a little party in 12 days.
Evidence. That is sort of the ground shook when I learned that.
That's interesting because we had heard that the FBI was at the sister's house, the Savannah sister's house, earlier tonight. I hadn't heard the towing of the car, and I just kind of assumed like they were over there talking to them, trying to get more information about, what was going on in Nancy's life in the days up to this. But yeah, the towing of the car, I'm trying to sort of wrap my mind around
R.I.P. Atlas.
The reasons that they may have done that.
I mean, I guess I can understand. I'm trying to think of all the reasons why it's not a big deal. And
right.
There you
it's
go.
It's the last person to have seen Nancy Guthrie. My law enforcement source says, who takes an 84-year-old woman with limited mobility? It's a burden for
somebody who already knows how to take her out of the house, right? Somebody who's probably been getting her out of the house. That's some wild stuff if he really is a suspect. And how dare him for whatever reason, right? I'd expect more from a person who's a teacher, a 6th grade teacher who teaches AP whatever he teaches. Man, it's crazy. Sometimes it just be like the most normal people, huh?
Her to do so unless someone has a vested interest in gaining something from it, like insurance benefits or a family debt that needs paid off, anything like that. This was just the musings, not the evidence of this investigator. But the other sort of earth-shattering information that this source told me is that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, Annie's husband, Thomas Ocione, is now may be considered prime suspect in this case.
Wow. Yeah. So I haven't heard.
Yeah, not far off, David.
Like I said, the most I heard was that the FBI was at their house earlier today. I haven't heard that at all. I don't know much about them. I mean, I think they were the last ones with her, right? On Friday night.
Two reports that Annie dropped her off, or that Annie and Tomaso dropped her off. It's a little unclear, but this law enforcement source specifically pointed to her car being towed, impounded, and in evidence, and the son-in-law, Tomaso Cione, age 50, may be the prime suspect in the case.
Well, and it would make sense even if hopefully did absolutely nothing wrong, and this is their mom, and it's like makes
Yeah.
your heart hurt. I mean, I feel terrible
Yeah.
for everyone in the family, but it would make sense that they don't want to leave any stone unturned. So even if investigators are thinking like, we don't think these people had anything to do with it, but the fact that they were the last ones with her, she was in that car the night before, like maybe they're just going to check everything regardless.
And that, my source said there's a lot of familiarity. This kidnapper had a lot of familiarity with this home, with the 2 different Nest cams that were smashed. And, that they said an 84-year-old woman with limited.
Coco said, my pacemaker only connects to Bluetooth. If I'm too far away from it, it disconnects. So if her phone was left, it would have disconnected. And I think they said that her phone was connected to the Apple Watch, right? So for it to get disconnected, I guess it was the last time that it was noted to have a connection. And I remember before, right? I might be dating myself, but I remember before when we used to check the pacemaker, there used to be like this little telephone device where you'd pick up this receiver and you'd place it right on top of the pacemaker, right on the chest, and then that would like transmit a signal, and you'd collect all the data from the pacemaker. Do any of y'all remember that, or am I the only one? I feel like that was just only a couple years ago, right, Peekaboo?
Mobility is not an easy person to kidnap. There has to be a benefit in some way. If you think about a break-in, no, you've caught me breaking into your house. Now you've seen me. Well, you don't typically kill someone and take the body or take the live person with you. That's not usually how a burglary that's foiled ends. It's far more complicated and odd. The mystery is more. It just takes you in a different direction. Your thoughts, anyway. The other,
you know what? Who said that? Was that Padboat? That's a very great point, right? Ashley is probably the source. Ashley's source is probably Savannah. They are friends, and Savannah is staying at Annie's house, and the FBI paid her house a visit today. So I totally agree with you. Drop 1,000 in the chat, because that's totally a viable option.
other thing is that my source said they are obviously looking at all cell phone pings and geofencing to find out what was in that neighborhood. This is the kind of thing that, trips up just about anybody. It may have tripped.
David is guilty. Yeah, David is way guilty as our girl, Amber. She said she accidentally changed her name and she didn't realize that I had to stay for 2 weeks. So she said that she was going to be David is way guilty for like a few weeks.
Up Dr. Michael McKee in the Tepe murders. He left his phone in the hospital, but the car was seen. Brian Koberger shuts his phone off right as he's leaving and puts his phone back on right as he's returning home, right around the times of the murders. These are things that some people just don't think about.
Yeah, and it's not just phones. I was talking to a FBI agent who just retired actually from this area earlier, and he was reminding me that, it's iPads, it's like all sorts, it's iWatch, it's all sorts of electronics now, that can track you. And he was emphasizing to me that is the number one thing that the FBI is doing right now, and that they can literally narrow it down in such a way through the cell phone towers.
Hey, fun fact, Veronica, my mom loves watching the Scam Baiters. Yeah, she Pierogi, shout out to Pierogi and all that he does, catching all those scammers overseas, all the ones in like India and Nigeria. It's crazy. They're doing a lot of good work out there.
To who was right in this area,
what's up? Welcome from the UK.
That device, and he thinks that's really what's going on behind the scenes right now. And there's also just questions about, do they have a suspect that we just don't know about? I mean, I was thinking back to Brian Koberger earlier when you and I were talking every night, and it was like, gosh, these police, they don't seem like they know anything, and then come to find out they knew a lot. Do they just have their poker face on in these press conferences, and they actually know a lot?
And it's true, they do. I mean, that has to be. We have to be kept in the dark about things because they've got to keep the suspect in the dark about a lot of things, Super interesting, though, just about the fact that family members are always number one. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Ed Smart. Ed Smart was like one of the number one, suspects in the disappearance of his daughter, Elizabeth, because does the boogeyman really come into your house and steal your daughter out of her bed beside her little sister? I doubt it. Well, he did. The boogeyman did come in. Brian David Mitchell did come in and steal Elizabeth, and it wasn't Ed Smart. But the way law enforcement works is you have to start from the inside of the concentric circles and then work out. to any potential other suspects. So if this ends up being prime suspect, but not the only one, and we're just eliminating him, that could definitely be the case. But I also feel like, would you tow and impound the car of Savannah Guthrie's sister, of Nancy Guthrie's daughter, and if there weren't something bigger to it? I mean, it's very loud. It's a very big move.
Do you think it's strange? And you're more, I mean, you've been in the bigger media world more than I have. Like, do you think it's strange that Savannah Guthrie hasn't said anything? I mean, could that be an indication of maybe some drama in the family behind the scenes?
You know, so many things could be happening there. If I were in Savannah's shoes, I would be mute. I would be, catatonic. You're a big media person. This massive thing is swirling around you. You don't even know what to say and what not to say. You have a million friends in the media business. Everybody wants a comment from you. And the police may have just said, we'd like you not to say anything. And I know Savannah. Savannah is a lawyer. She is a long-studied crime reporter. I met her at Court TV. We worked together at Court TV. She is brilliant. And so Savannah will be doing the smartest things to aid in this investigation. She will do everything that the police are asking her.
Hey, really quick, let me just give a shout out to somebody who's in the chats watching, a celebrity chef, Jizzy, who's just lurking in the background. So shout out to you, Jizzy.
Her to do, and she will not go rogue. I know that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the other aspect of that is that if the FBI was over at Annie's house, they've towed her car, they're looking at her husband. If I were Savannah, that would be enough for me to just say, I need to just stay out of the limelight. I need to stay out of everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just wondering about that because if there is a family dynamic here, might be a reason for her to, like you said, just sort of stay quiet. Although I hate to even think that. I mean, I hope that's not the case. I know you have your source, but it's like, gosh, that's just terrible.
I was interviewing Ed Smart and Lois and having to ask them about that. It was awful and so awkward and so uncomfortable. But I do understand it's how law enforcement has to work. They can't ignore that or they wouldn't be doing their jobs. What about the neighbors? Have you heard from anybody out there?
Yeah, we've talked to several neighbors. People loved Nancy. We're hearing a lot of that. I mean, she lived here since the early 90s. I think 1992 is when she moved in, which a lot of people were saying, oh, Savannah probably bought her the house. It's a really nice house. I mean, apparently not, because she's lived here for a long time. So a lot of people know her. And people are on edge about the whole thing. The police have been to all of the neighbors' houses. There was one neighbor who told me police had been there twice looking for videos. Wow. So it seems like, we've done other stories where you show up and you're like kind of surprised, gosh, how are we the first ones here? That doesn't seem like the case here. People have been going to all the different neighbors' houses. There was one neighbor who told me that they were even trying to talk to the landscapers because there's a lot, they're really nice houses out here and there's a lot of like landscape crews and stuff. So they were talking to them because they kind of know the area. So yeah, people have been cooperating with the police for sure.
Well, I remember a case, Nancy Woodrum in Paso Robles, California, well over a decade ago. Elderly woman disappeared from her home. It was this sort of freaked me out a little because it seemed so similar, but it ended up being a painter that worked at the house. So they will be canvassing. And I think the sheriff did say that to me. They're canvassing every single person from caretakers to landscapers to pool, service contractors, etc. Anybody who had any kind of connection at that house, that would be absolutely number one. They would do that right away and get alibis and check for DNA. The other interesting thing is, Brian, that the sheriff today said that they have tested some of the DNA that was discovered at the house, but that nothing that's come back so far has indicated a suspect.
Right. They confirmed that the DNA connected back to Nancy, which I guess is no real surprise. She lived in the house, but they wouldn't say what. Was that blood that was tested? Was that the blood outside that was tested? I do too, but they didn't confirm it.
I mean, you're seeing blood outside that's it's still red. I could see your video still red. You're testing that. You're testing that right away, because what if there was a pitched fight and a knife was being used and, the assailant was cut? There'd be mixed blood. So that would be the first thing.
I'm looking for that right now because I do remember reading somewhere that there was still a proof of life, but I do have to figure out where I read that and when it was posted.
that, but it was devastating to hear that so far nothing's come back, indicating a suspect. This is going to be a hard one. This will be a really, really hard one. Like you said, it's so dark out there and so rural, and it's not like a lot of ring cameras and license plate readers are going to lead to whatever vehicle, and I do say vehicle. Nancy Guthrie couldn't move more than 50 yards on her own.
Mm-hmm.
She needed to be conveyed in some kind of a vehicle.
Yep.
I wonder if they already have a vehicle description. Because, with the FBI being involved so early, and there are traffic cameras out, like on the main road out here, and they're just not giving it to us at this point for a specific reason.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, they're going to look at every single vehicle that was in that area and find out who they were, where they were, who they were with. That's not tricky. That's what led us to Dr. Michael McKee in the Tepe murders, Yeah. What am I missing?
I think you covered it pretty well. I mean, we hit the ransom. The blood is really alarming. The cameras, which you had new information on. I don't know if you caught the press conference, Ashley.
I did.
It was a little strange. I mean, there was not a lot of new information. The FBI was there for the first time. They had the special agent in charge of Tucson who was there along with the sheriff. The FBI was not there yet.
I saw a question that said, how long do pacemakers last? They can last anywhere between like a battery can last like up to between like 10 to 15 years, I think. Could be less, could be more, but I think anywhere between like 10 and 12 years.
Yesterday. I thought it was interesting. The sheriff started by saying, well, I said some things maybe I shouldn't have said yesterday. And, I had to do all these interviews. It was just kind of strange. I thought, like you said, I guess they don't deal with that a lot here. And then I thought it was interesting that he said, next press conference will be Thursday.
That's right.
Yeah.
No updates unless needed.
Correct. And I was just like, okay, kind of like nothing to see here, everybody. It's just a little odd, I thought.
You know what? I thought it was strange when he said no updates until Thursday unless and until something happens. And then when I got my information from my law enforcement source, I thought, oh, yeah, maybe it's because you do have your prime suspect. And that's why you're saying we don't need to do any updates right now. I don't know. Again, it's a great, impeccable source that I have, extraordinarily connected to this. So
you're right, Padbo. If her source is not Savannah directly, there's not a better source to have.
And somebody who's very high in law enforcement too. So I don't have any reason not to believe that. I do want to mention that there was dispatch chatter, which was super interesting. Dispatch audio that was like dispatch talking to responding units.
Nancy, a white female.
She even got dispatch audio, y'all. What? We might have to stay on and watch Nancy's coverage of this because Nancy Grace got a little emotional too. So let me know in the chat if y'all want to watch that too.
84 years of age, 5'2" medium build, powder blue. Nancy has high blood pressure, pacemaker, and cardiac issues.
Saying that there was high blood pressure medication, a pacemaker, and cardiac issues. So they seemed to know right away, even as before they got there, that there was some medical issue with this missing person. Maybe that came from the family. Yeah, really.
Well, and you've heard right about the pacemaker connecting to the iWatch. And she was charging her iWatch in the room, and they were able to review the data in the iWatch. And the last time the pacemaker connected to the iWatch was at 2 a.m. So that's sort of how they've been able to. I just want to look again and see what. Yeah, it's interesting. This must be security out here.
And taking pictures just to say what things look like out there. My source said,
Storm, if you just joined us now, you just missed it. We're damn near at the end. But I will say, out of all the content that has come out today, this one from Ashley Banfield has got to be the most informative, and we learned a lot. I mean, if you've seen the thumbnail in her actual video, it says a lot.
To me, that the separation from the pacemaker at 2 a.m. is the time of abduction. That's what the police believe. They refused to narrow the window for us in the press conference today, but my law enforcement source said, yes, it's 2 a.m. That's when they believe she was abducted / kidnapped. The sheriff said kidnapped to me. I don't think there's a big difference. And that they believe that it absolutely happened at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, which would make sense. And again, just as dark as it is out here, I'll just show you. Like if I pick up my camera, my phone, or my, I mean, we have all our lights, but look like down the street, Ashley, it's like, and you
Wow.
can see what it's like out here. It's like
Yeah.
totally pitch black. So
Only thing you can see are the vehicles. That's it.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Makes it real hard for an investigation, Brian. My God. Well, listen, you were unbelievable today in what you were able to I mean, I think the blood trail is some of the
Boo on
biggest
your
news that's come
phone.
out of this, as well as the
Boo.
notion that that Annie and Thomas's vehicle is being, has been impounded, is in evidence, and that they may be considering him a prime suspect. It's very disturbing. It's very distressing. But listen, thank you, because I know you're so busy. Every single show on News Nation you've been on and updating them all, and just getting your crew out there, fantastic. Dave and Mo, congratulate them for the work they're doing as well. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate this.
Yeah, it's always good to see you, Ashley. I'll see you.
You
see
too.
You probably tomorrow. All right.
All right, if y'all still want to hang out, because we now have 108 people in here, I'm gonna watch Nancy Grace. I know this was before, I believe, the hoax, but if y'all don't want to watch, y'all don't gotta hang out. But I'm watching Nancy.
Nancy, at this hour, we are following up on claims there could be a ransom note, with the alleged kidnappers demanding a specific amount of Bitcoin and demanding the cryptocurrency be sent to a specific Bitcoin address. To add to the mix, the Bitcoin address has been verified as real. The alleged note has been forwarded to the Pima County Sheriff's Office, and responding to word of the possible ransom note, the Pima County Sheriff's Department took to X to say they are, quote, aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes regarding the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. We are taking all tips and leads seriously. Anything that comes in goes directly to our detectives, who are coordinating with the FBI. A possible break in the case, but as yet...
Darcy, I was actually looking it up now. I couldn't find anything on Annie's profession, so that's a little odd. Everything that pops up is an article that's related to the case now, anytime you look up her name.
Unverified.
Breaking news. Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, missing day 3. What does a mystery car have to do with this? Also, we are learning the DNA found inside Mrs. Guthrie's home is her DNA. That DNA significant because it leads law enforcement to state that she has been abducted. When asked, is abducted too strong of a word to use? The Pima County Sheriff says no.
All right, y'all, I'm going to use the bathroom real quick, so I'll be right back.
Out of her home, this 84-year-old grandma in the night. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. First of all, joining me an all-star panel to make sense of what we are learning right now, we're getting to the DNA found in her home. It's been reported that it was blood. We don't know that yet, but we do know it is Nancy Guthrie's DNA. However, it's her home. Of course her DNA is there. So what concerns the police about that DNA? Is it the amount of DNA? Is it the location of the DNA? I'm going to get into it, but I need to go to Grace Stafford right now. It's Dr. Grace Stafford. He is the star of podcast Zoo Logic, author of Zoomility. He is faculty member at Grand Canyon University and so much more. But Dr. Grace Stafford, let me get right to it. You are joining us from Arizona. You're familiar intimately with this jurisdiction. What can you tell me about the terrain and the animal life?
Nancy, as her neighborhood implies, she's located at the base of the Santa Catalina mountain range. And so with that wild habitat and change of elevation, it's much cooler there than you would see, say, in Phoenix, Arizona, downtown Phoenix. It's about twice the elevation of Phoenix. So the daytime and nighttime temperatures are cooler. With that change of elevation, you might get some wildlife coming in from the mountains looking for prey. Animals like mountain lions would not be uncommon to drop into those kind of wild urban areas like where she lives.
What do you mean by that? It would not be uncommon for mountain lions to be in the area?
Well, any wildlife's going to look for prey, and with all the human activities there, golf courses and so forth, there's a lot of grass. you're going to have prey species like javelina, deer, rabbits, and other small mammals. And so predators like mountain lions frequently will drop in from their more wild habitats to forage and then hightail it out of there back into the mountains.
Guys, you are seeing the terrain around Nancy Guthrie's home. This is from our friends at 12 News. Gray, again, thank you for being with us. I'm trying to identify what, if any, perils she would face. Now, I don't believe that Nancy Guthrie, who has mobility issues, no dementia, no cognitive decline, I do not believe that she walked out of her place on a walkabout. However, she may be out in that terrain at by someone else's hand. You stated about the temperatures, how they dip at night, how cold it gets. You've told me about the wildlife in the area. What can you tell me about the terrain itself around her neighborhood?
Well, it's relatively flat, but it quickly climbs in elevation like any foothills area. And Mount Lemmon is found within this mountain range. It's one of the top highest peaks in Arizona. So you do get a rapid change of elevation once you leave her neighborhood. And exposure is certainly a concern. Although we've had a mild winter, temperatures right now are running 10 to 12 degrees Fahrenheit higher than normal. But still, it's wintertime. It's still rather cool for someone to be out and be exposed to the elements for a long period of time.
Hey, do me a favor. If you guys are still here, do me a favor. Hit the like button, y'all. Hit the like button. Smash that like button. Help us get out into the algorithm. Thank you, guys.
And at her age, Dr. Grace Stafford. Straight to Dave Mack joining us, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Dave, a lot is happening, and it's happening quickly. Number one, we know that DNA is found at the scene. That is Nancy Guthrie's. We know that DNA made police believe that a struggle had ensued and she was actually kidnapped from her home. Hold on. I want to take this to Brian Fitzgibbons. Brian, you are being told from your sources that no one will confirm what type of DNA it is, regardless of media outlets insisting that it's blood. What do you know?
Yeah, so media outlets have provided information that there was blood, but the Pima County Sheriff's Office, in a statement released to media outlets, has not confirm that reporting. That they are saying that they've connected the DNA to Mrs. Guthrie, but they will not indicate if that is indeed blood.
Brian Fitzgibbons, there had to be something. It just assumed that the media outlets are correct, that it is her blood. There had to be something about the blood that raised law enforcement's suspicions, because her blood could be on a knife in the kitchen. It could be on the kitchen sink. It could be in the bathroom. She may have had a nosebleed. She may have cut her finger. She may have stubbed her toe. That's not suspicious. What would be suspicious about her blood that would concern law enforcement, Brian Fitzgibbons, is the amount of the blood. Is it a copious amount of blood? Or the location of the blood. Is there blood on the door, the front door, as she is being taken out of the door? Or the nature of the blood, Brian Fitzgibbons. Is it a spray indicating a gunshot wound? Is there blood spatter indicating a sharp instrument was used and that she was bludgeoned? So what I'm trying to get at, Brian Fitzgibbons, just her blood or her DNA there in her home means nothing. It's got to be either the location, the amount, or the nature of the blood. Weigh in, Fitzgibbons.
Correct. And you look at this crime scene as it's been called.
Just kidding. I was muted. You're right. I was basically talking to Coco Mom. I thought Coco Mom was leaving. I thought it was past her bedtime, and I see her in the chat still.
By Pima County Sheriff Nanos, that this is indeed a crime scene, that he does have evidence of a forced entry, that he does have evidence at the crime scene that Mrs. Guthrie left against her will, and you combine that with DNA found at the scene, that paints a picture of what we're seeing. Was there a trail of blood leading out to the driveway? Was there blood spatter? Something connected the dots with those other statements that the sheriff made to lead to this conclusion that DNA connected the dots on this being a potential abduction.
And again, joining us, Dr. Gray, Stafford Gray, another issue is this. When we hear blood, Nancy Guthrie's blood caused concern amongst LE, law enforcement. That doesn't, I'm trying to look at this in a bright light, in the best light possible.
Sorry, and then I rock. I think this video came out a couple of hours ago. But again, I only saw like a few minutes of it.
Miss Guthrie, that does not necessarily mean she was bludgeoned or stabbed or shot. Maybe she was struck. Maybe when you are struck in the face, a nosebleed can be very profuse. You bleed a lot from any injury around your nose or your mouth. So that could be a more innocent explanation, not a good one, but a more innocent one.
Yeah, it certainly could. And as your other guest pointed out, it's the amount, it's the proximity to the house, to the driveway. Was it a trail? Was it a single spot? A lot of open questions still.
You know, I want to go back over what we're learning at this hour. For those of you just joining us, Nancy Guthrie is 84. She is the mom of our friend Savannah Guthrie of NBC Today. She's 5'5". She weighs about 150 pounds, brown hair, beautiful blue eyes. She lives alone, upscale community. Last seen Sunday evening at a church function. Last seen Saturday evening at a church function. The following morning, when it's time for her to go to church services, no Nancy. She has mobility problems. I'm guessing someone came to give her a ride, and she didn't come to the door. The front door unlocked. We're now learning there are signs of forced entry. The lights in the front of the home were on. We are learning, and this isn't helping anything, Brian Fitzgibbons, that there is a gravel driveway. We're not going to get any car prints or any car evidence off gravel. Explain.
No, you're not going to collect any, and I'll add to this. The neighborhood itself, not only are there dirt and gravel driveways,
That's cool.
these houses are set back quite far off of the road. So the chance of catching
tomato, who cares? He
doorbell
looks
camera
sus.
footage or security camera footage from neighboring houses is very low, in my opinion. When you look at the scenery on that street, it's very unlikely that law enforcement is going to be able to get any significant security footage from neighbors.
Put him up. Put him up.
Just the houses are set back quite a bit off the road. It looks to be anywhere from 50 to 100 yards, and there's vegetation along the side of the road for privacy. So you can see that there on the map.
Ooh, map time.
As you get down on that road, that vegetation is pretty tall.
Gotta love that map time.
And I've seen some videos from the road itself. So it's going to be unlikely that those cameras are capturing anything.
Oh, Justice Jane, you just missed it. We covered the entire video. I hope you didn't miss it. Yeah, I was telling everybody in the chat earlier that Ashley Manfield, she gets the challenge. She did it today. She covered all of it today.
You know, I've got a time discrepancy, Dave Mack. Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Maybe it's not a discrepancy, because I had a judge, an awesome judge, the oldest judge in the courthouse, Luther Alverson, that would tell the jury.
That emoji right there, Terry Jackson, that is an emoji of Celeste Rivas Hernandez's headstone. So the one that you see on her headstone where she's like in a white dress with the angel wings, if that's what you're referring to. But yeah, that is Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
Every jury trial, it is your duty to make all witnesses speak the truth, impugning perjury on no one. In other words, two statements can both be true, and we have to figure out how to reconcile them. We are learning from a neighbor that she was taken out of the home, shortly after being dropped off after church on Saturday night. And I guarantee you, there is not a church potluck going on at 2:45 a.m., Dave Mack.
To be very clear here, Annie Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's older sister, was with her mom and is the last person to see her mom. It was Annie Guthrie who dropped Nancy Guthrie off between 9:30 and 9:45.
Oh, look at this. Look at this right here. Look at her hand. This, yeah, so a lot of the times, at least in my experience, a lot of patients that I have who are on blood thinners, on medications like Coumadin or warfarin, many of them have this very particular bruise on their hand.
5 p.m. That's what Annie says.
If you're a new member, Tambo, yeah, you get to use the emojis. But unfortunately, it is only for members. And Tambo, you are a member. I do see your name green pop up in the chat. So yeah, you should be good.
Something else that comes into play, Nancy, there was blood drops from the entryway of the house leading out to the driveway. Something else, lights in the common area, I use plural, lights in the common area of the home were left on.
And Kalohi, you made a good point, right? Sadly, the sis and the boyfriend were probably the main caregivers. You know, as we mentioned earlier, they bought a house for $650,000 that was only 10 minutes away. So, of course, they were probably the ones who lived the closest, right? Said her daughter Annie and her boyfriend Tommaso Sioni, they both bought a house for $650,000 last year, 10 minutes away from Nancy's home.
The front door was unlocked, but there was forced entry. And something else that was said, that the doorbell camera had been removed before law enforcement arrived. And it was phrased just that way. I don't know what that means, but they said it was removed before they arrived. So we've got a woman who cannot walk 50 yards on her own. We've got blood going from the entryway to the driveway. And we do have a neighbor saying he thought she saw a mysterious car in that neighborhood on that road near that house shortly after Annie Guthrie dropped her mom off.
Okay, Dave Mack, I want you to go through the salient points one more time because every one of them is probative. Each thing you said proves something. Start over.
All right.
Start over.
Annie Guthrie, the oldest daughter of Nancy, was out to dinner with
Darcy, are the bruises caused by having to take frequent blood draws? Not necessarily. I mean, it could be a reason why, but because, and we don't know if she's on blood thinners. I think that's just the assumption that some of us are making because of the fact that she has the pacemaker. But also it is very common for people who have pacemakers to be on blood thinners. You know, just one of the main side effects of these strong blood thinners is bruising, right? And who was it that mentioned, was it Padboat or no? Somebody, it was Peekaboo. She said in the chat, making a bed can cause bruises just like that, just tucking in the sheets. You know, something as easily as that can cause massive bruising. And patients who are on these type of blood thinners, right? Sometimes, you know, some of the patients are clumsy. Maybe they'll, you know, ding their arm into the wall or up against the counter, and they'll have really severe bad bruises. And it's because of the medication that they take. So for patients like that, right? So for a patient like, or for a person like Nancy, you know, especially if she's unable to walk, you know, her mobility isn't the greatest, right? One of the things we have to keep in mind, if her mobility isn't good, she's at a higher risk for falling, right? And if she were to fall, bust open her head, there's a good chance that she could actually just bleed out and bleed to death, right? And so the fact that they actually found blood at the house, whether it was outside and inside the home, right? She's already at a high risk, right? Whatever it is.
Nancy on Saturday night and dropped her off at her home between 9:30 and 9:45 p.m. That's Annie Guthrie, the last person to see Nancy Guthrie. We have blood evidence, a blood trail going from the entryway of the home out to the driveway. We have a front door that is unlocked, but police say there was forced entry. We have lights on in the common areas of the home. We know that Nancy Guthrie suffers from no type of Alzheimer's or dementia. She's sharp as a tack, but she has physical issues so that she cannot walk on her own for 50 yards. So we have a neighbor that also says she saw a mysterious vehicle, and one she didn't recognize, in the neighborhood shortly after the time Nancy Guthrie was dropped off by her oldest daughter, Annie, or between 9:30 and 9:45 that evening, Saturday night. And by the way, Nancy Guthrie attended church services so regularly. When she did not show up for her 11 a.m. worship service as usual, by 11:10, members of the church were on the phone with family members saying, hey, your mom's not at church. And that's why they were over at Nancy Guthrie's home right away. They spent an hour looking all inside the home and around the home before they called police and notified them that she was gone.
I need you to add in, Dave Mack, what you learned about the door cam.
Oh, the door cam was shocking to me, Nancy, because of the phrasing that was used in this. Law enforcement says the doorbell camera, was removed before they arrived. And that was the terminology used, that this camera had been removed before they arrived.
Dave Mack, again, what did you say about Mrs. Guthrie's doorbell cam being removed?
That's what law enforcement says, that she did have one, but that doorbell camera was removed before they made it to her house.
Okay, that puts a whole nother layer of planning onto this, and that's why I'm saying, Ms. Gibbons, that this is not random. This is not a guy wandering around, and yes, typically it's a man, wandering around.
Thank you, Gold Digger, for helping out with that. Yeah, if you're looking for the emojis that we have, just press the little smiley face within the text chat area. And once you click on that, the emojis that we have for the group chat pop up.
Around that upscale neighborhood looking to steal your VCR, or seeing your jewelry lying out by your bed, or taking your electronics. No, this is not some dope addict coming in to get your oxy for your knee surgery. This is targeted. This is not random. The mystery car allegation compared with taking her doorbell cam, taking the Ring cam, put him up. First of all, that's the first sign the person's an idiot, because dismantling the doorbell cam does not stop what's already been recorded, right? No,
Correct.
It's in the cloud somewhere.
That is correct. And Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos has indicated that they are making moves right now to get access to that cloud to obtain that footage. And as you mentioned, Nancy, all of these signs, knowing the location of a camera, removing it, knowing that Mrs. Guthrie would be alone, vulnerable at this time, everything points to somebody with insider knowledge of Mrs. Guthrie.
Now, Brian Fitzgibbons, when you first heard Dave Mack report that her doorbell cam had been taken, so all we know, taken before law enforcement got there, you said there was video. The fact that the door cam was taken does not preclude the possibility that there was a nanny cam operating on the inside, maybe in certain areas of the home, like the entranceway, the back door. There could be other surveillance camera other than the Ring door cam.
Correct. There's a very good possibility that somebody like Mrs. Guthrie, with an association to her daughter, who's such a public figure, would have multiple cameras. It would be difficult to remove all of them in a quick fashion.
So, Dave Mack, I want to circle back to you. Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter. We understand that at first we were told that the search of the area has been called off, and now they're focusing on the missing person aspect, not the recovery, finding her in that area.
That's what I was saying too, right? Doesn't Google have the video? I mean, like once that video records something, it should automatically go into a like your app that you could save. And we know that the phone was left here. Oh, look at that. Coco Mom just gifted another 5 memberships. Thank you so much, Coco Mom. My lord. My lord, my lord. Tara just became a member. Welcome to the inner circle. Who received it? We got Laura Sims, Gunna. We got Enid C, Lisa, and Stony Sony. And then Tara Michelle. Welcome to the inner circle, y'all. Throw your circles in the chats. Thank you so much, Coco Mom. I appreciate you. Always supporting the channel. And we appreciate that. We love that.
Around the home. But now we're learning, Dave Mack, that law enforcement is going back and they are retracing their steps and then moving outward from the home. What do you know, Dave?
They're going to not just go outward from the home, Nancy. They're actually expanding what they were originally doing.
But and just to clarify that too, Tara, the camera does not matter anymore. It's online forever. So it is, right? But I guess they were saying it's very difficult for them to obtain the footage directly from the company, which is weird though, because, you know, it's not uncommon for maybe like one of the daughters to know the password to the phone, which would have made it so much easier for them to just unlock it, right? But I guess they have to go the legal the legal route, get all the warrants, and then, you know, maybe subpoena them directly through the company. So
when they first started the search, they had a ground game plan to go out and search. But now, as they've decided to come back, they obviously have information leading them to this. They're going back and retracing not just their footsteps from their original search, but they're also widening the search, making it a little bit bigger on the sides as they go out from her home. They obviously have some information that has led them back down this path, because if you remember, they very quickly said this type of a search is done. Helicopters were gone, drones were gone. Well, we got helicopters back in the air. We got drones back in the area. So they're doing another search, retracing their footsteps and expanding it a little bit.
So Dr. Grace Stafford, star of Zoo Logic podcast, zoologist.
Yo, guess what, you guys? We are 3 likes away from 100. Can we get that? Can we get this video to 100 likes? We've been on for almost 3.5 hours. I know we can get this video to 100 likes, y'all.
This consultant, author, faculty. What are they going to encounter as they expand the search? Okay, you're starting at her place, and you're going out, 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 geographically.
Well, Nancy, a lot of people have the misconception that Arizona is a very barren terrain. There's actually a lot of wildlife and a lot of plant life here, much of which is very hazardous to walk through because they have thorns and that sort of thing. So moving out from our home, there's going to be trails. There are going to be dry washes where when it rains, water will...
Eileen, unfortunately, I think what happens is that they gift people randomly. I wish there was an option that we could choose who we gift them to. Unfortunately, YouTube has not provided us that option. However, this is what I am going to do because I am feeling a little generous and it's my birthday month. I'm going to go ahead and gift some memberships in the chat. Let me, hold on one second. Let me just make sure that I'm ready to do it. All right, Eileen, I've got my fingers crossed. Let us, we're going to gift, how many are we going to gift? We're going to do 5 right now. All right, so we just gifted 5 memberships. Eileen, I hope you get one. Mel C, many blessings, Redondo Beach, Octopus, and Maddie. All right, I'm feeling a little generous. I'm gonna donate 5 more. So here we go. Eileen, do you have the option set for your phone so then that way you can receive memberships? Because I know you are always here on our show and you are always showing love and support in the channel. Right. So before I gift the next 5, Eileen, I will ask that you do check your settings and then you check that you can receive. Oh, Lord. Coco Mom just gifted another 5 memberships. Please make sure you thank her in the chat. Y'all are going off on memberships tonight, huh? But Eileen, I want to wait for you. We'll continue playing the video, but I want you to check your settings to see if you can turn them on. I know you did, Coco Ma. You did beat me to it. You did.
Pass through. We haven't had a lot of moisture this winter, so I suspect that it's going to be very dry.
But I'm going for another round.
But it still may make passage difficult in some of those thick brush areas, away from trails, away from washes.
David is guilty. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good one.
Ryan Fitzgibbons, don't you see where the facts are leading us?
Mm-hmm.
This is not random. If this were a random burglary, you'd have items taken from the home. We've heard nothing about that. It's not a family member. We know that.
Coco Mom is a channel champ, huh? Drop some circles in the chat for Coco Mom. Ooh. Yeah, Eileen, check your settings.
That. Now you have to move out. Someone that knew her in the sense that they knew of her. They clearly waited until Annie dropped her off from the evening church event that Saturday night. According to the neighbor, the mystery car was seen shortly after that, which means They knew when she would be dropped off. Either they were there or they already knew. They have an intimate knowledge of her life, that she lives alone. The doorbell cam
Ooh,
was
we
taken
are at
off
100
the
likes,
door.
whoever that was.
A
Thank
lot
you for
is
getting that
happening
video to
here,
100 likes.
indicating it's not random. So let's run with it. Where do you go?
Investigators are going to start looking, Nancy, at anybody who's in and around that house with a degree of regularity. And I say this not to accuse a landscaper, a pool tech, a home health
Tara
aide,
Michelle, thank you.
anybody who's a home cleaner coming into that house regularly. They're going to expand and look
And
at
weed.
who lives with those
Don't forget the weed.
Who do they associate with?
Can't
Who
leave the
might
weed
hear
out.
that Savannah Guthrie's mother lives right down the road and know that this could be a target. So it may not necessarily be that person, that contractor that comes into the house, but it could be somebody that's connected to him. And I can guarantee you that investigators are going thoroughly down that list of individuals that have had regular and
They
consistent
might as well check the whole the band that he's in. What was it called? Early Black?
access to Mrs. Guthrie's home.
You know, another issue, Dave Mack, is Savannah started with me at Court TV. She has covered missing people. She's covered homicide. She's covered it all. She knows all the statistics. She knows all the facts. And this has got to be excruciating for her. I'm trying to paint every fact, not only nefariously, but with in the best possible light. This has got to be killing her as she gets dribbles and bits of evidence. Blood, doorbell cam gone, just dragged from her bed,
no evil.
mystery car. It's
funny.
It's heartbreaking.
Nancy, I will tell you that one of the things.
All right, Eileen, are you ready? We're going to do 5 more. Hold on. How do we do this? We are going to gift 5 more memberships now. Eileen, I really hope you get one. This one's for you. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Oh. Hey, Lindsay, Nebby, and that girl Melly just received one. All right, this is going to be the last 5 I do tonight. Eileen, you are in my prayers. I really hope you get this one. There you go. That was my chair. I didn't fart. I swear.
That I noticed when we first started looking into this story is how emotional you got, and how many of Savannah Guthrie's coworkers, people who have worked with her over the years, how emotional they got, because she is genuinely, truly liked, and she is actually at her wit's end. She's, as you mentioned, she's been down this road and covering stories. Savannah Guthrie is reaching out and saying, "Please pray." Pray
Tara
for my
Michelle just gifted a membership, so if you received the membership, make sure you thank Tara. Thank you so much, Tara. Appreciate your support. Damn, memberships are going off tonight. What?
mom. We need her back. She knows all these signs are sadly not good, and yet there's still hope. And there are even signs out in front of the yard somebody had made in front of Nancy Guthrie's home saying, "We stand with you." You know, Savannah was on her way to covering the Olympics. You mentioned she just returned to the set of the Today Show a week and a half ago after being off for throat surgery, then where she couldn't even speak and her voice is just now coming back. It's been a tough time for her over the last couple of months. She just got back on the set, and now she's out, of course, in Arizona to be there to help find her mom. And I think the shocking part of all of this, Nancy, is we have an 84-year-old woman of sound mind, but with physical ailments preventing her from being able to go more than 50 yards.
Put it on Huss,
she has medication she has to take.
Yep.
24 hours is the max she can go, and we're now well past that. So she's without her medication. She might be hurt. We've got blood going from the entryway to the driveway. So, yeah, there's a lot to worry about and a lot to be praying about when it comes to the family of Nancy Guthrie.
Brian Fitzgibbons, one quick question. Why can't we use a Stingray digital data dump? Why can't we pick up or get a data dump off a cell phone tower, cell phone numbers that were in that area between, say, 2 and 5 a.m.? Thought?
That's actually precisely something that Pima County Sheriff's Office is doing, Nancy. Sheriff Chris Nanos indicated that yesterday, that they're in the process of organizing all that data from the cell phone towers in particular. And as we have evidence that's presenting itself that narrows the timeline, that's going to make their job a little bit easier to identify anomalies in that cell data.
If you know or think you know anything about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of our friend Savannah Guthrie, please dial Pima County Sheriff's 520-351-4900. Repeat, 520-351-4900. There is a reward for information that reveals the location of Nancy Guthrie, 84-year-old mother and grandmother. Thank you to our guests, but especially to you for being with us. Nancy Grace signing off, but I join Savannah and ask you to continue to pray for the safe return of Nancy Guthrie. Goodbye.
So just a recap of tonight, Ashley Banfield just came out with a video, and she did say that her sources are now viewing Tommaso Cioni, the son-in-law or the husband of Annie, as the prime suspect. Earlier today, we also debunked a wild rumor going around that David was in a relationship with another male. We broke the news here, so that was debunked. That was totally a lie. Other than that, we watched a bunch of videos today. So shout out to everybody who was still hanging out. We did get our video up to 100 likes, so I appreciate you guys. And now I'm going to recap everybody who supported the channel. So Tammy with her $4.99 super sticker. Miss Dizzle became became a member. She renewed her membership. Tara Michelle sent 1 gifted membership. Sharon Turner renewed her membership. Military Ma just sent 1 gift membership. Military Ma became a member of the Inner Circle. Coco's mom sent 5 gifted memberships. Tara Michelle gifted 1 membership. Oh my lord, y'all are crazy today. Coco's mom sent 5 gifted memberships. Tara Michelle became a member of the Inner Circle. Dear lord. I sent out 5. Coco's mom sent 5 gifted memberships. I sent out another 10 after that. And then Tara Michelle sent another gifted membership. So we just got a whole bunch of new members to the Inner Circle. And I do thank all of you guys. Again, if we do have anybody in our chat that is visually impaired or audio impaired, please let me know, so then that way we can make our show more enjoyable for you guys. We do appreciate all of you guys that are here. Everybody who supported the channel tonight, you guys showed a ton of love tonight with the fan funding. So I really, really, really appreciate it. All of you guys who are outside of Pacific Standard Time and you guys are in an advanced time zone, I do appreciate you guys taking the time to just hang out. It's been a few days since we've been here, but that's going to be it for today. Just know that we're going to keep you guys updated on the whereabouts of Nancy Guthrie. And just like Nancy Grace said, and Savannah said, we will continue to pray, and hopefully we can get home Nancy Guthrie soon. So that's going to be it, you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Filling in the Gaps. I'm Flojo, and I will see you guys another time. Thank you guys. All right, y'all, hold on. Right as I was about to leave, I seen that we had another person become a member. Marissa just renewed her subscription to the channel. So thank you for becoming a member and renewing your membership with us. All right, you guys. That was fun to just come back after the outro. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys another time. Just know that we'll keep you guys updated with everything that we talked about. Thank you guys. We'll see you later. Good night.